Chapter 254. Ilya raised her head and looked at Blackie. After a moment, Blackie spoke. Then, let me ask you a question, Ilya. What question? Ilya swallowed her saliva and asked nervously. What is your current wish? Blackie looked at Ilya with a serious expression. My current wish is probably to return to my previous life. I guess. Ilya was vexed as she pondered deeply before giving her answer. Wuming wasn't surprised when he heard this answer. After all, Ilya was just an ordinary primary school student. She was suddenly drawn into the life of a magician, and this caused her to be exhausted. Just like how we would usually think, how good would it be if I didn't do that thing? But, hearing Ilya's answer, Blackie lowered his head gloomily. As expected, we can't coexist. In an instant, a large amount of magic power erupted from Blackie's body. What? Ilya said in a panic. Calm down, Blackie. Rin Inbin, who could only use his hand to shield his eyes due to Blackie's super high magic power eruption, advised. Luvia and Mayu were the same. In fact, Mayu showed signs of retreating, let alone Ilya, who was just an ordinary person not long ago. Blackie, calm down. Wuming placed his hand on Blackie's shoulder. It had to be said that Wuming, who was the closest to Blackie, wasn't affected at all. Although he was still angry, Blackie didn't want to disappoint his big brother's trust in him, so he tried his best to retract his magic power. Wuming believed that Blackie wouldn't casually use his magic power to deal with Ilya, so he removed Enkidu. Blackie didn't want to disappoint Wuming. Blackie shifted his position angrily and leaned closer to Wuming. At the same time, he turned his head to the side and stopped looking at Ilya. Wuming smiled and patted Blackie's head, indicating that Blackie didn't let him down. Blackie puffed out his chest proudly. Then, Wuming looked at Ilya. Ilya, although I know that you didn't mean to say what you just said, do you know what it means? Looking at the serious Wuming, Ilya didn't know what to do. You want to return to your previous life because you realize that the world of magicians is abnormally chaotic. But this also means that you want to deny our relationship because you only knew us after entering the world of magicians. To Xiaohei, you are denying her existence. Rin Inbin and Luvia nodded in agreement with Wuming's words. Only Mayu didn't express anything, quietly listening to Wuming's speech. Wuming's words stunned Ilya, but she immediately reacted. No, big brother, Sister Mayulin, Sister Luvia, I didn't mean that. Ilya looked as if she was about to cry, and looked to Xiaohei pleadingly. I'm sorry, Xiaohei, that's what I meant. Then, Ilya really started crying. I know that I'm very clumsy. I like to sleep in the morning and often can't get up. I'm also not proficient in cooking and often act rashly. Most of the time, I'm not frank. Ilya practically revealed all of her shortcomings. But I really don't mean to deny you. So please stay. I'll do my best to live with you. Please. In the end, Ilya directly bowed 90 degrees and faced Xiaohei. After all, you can't expect a primary school student to think so much. Ilya was purely reminiscing about the past and didn't mean to deny Wuming and the others, nor did she mean to deny Xiaohei. Wuming helped Ilya up, wiped her tears, and looked at Ilya with some heartache. All right, Ilya, we're not saying that you've made a mistake or anything. I just want you to understand that even though there are many times in life where you wish to return to the past or start over due to regret or other reasons, in this life that you've already lived and started, there are still many benefits that outweigh the disadvantages. You've met Lin, Luvia, Mayu, and me. Even the sealed Xiaohei has obtained freedom. At that point, Wuming turned to look at Xiaohei, who was looking at Ilya with some worry. Xiaohei, who was discovered, instantly blushed and turned her head away again. Wuming smiled and continued to speak to Ilya. During this period of time, you've indeed encountered many dangers, some of which even threatened your life. But the gains during this period of time aren't something that others can give you. In the end, Wuming cupped Ilya's beautiful face and looked at her slightly swollen eyes. Wuming said an extremely important sentence. This is the treasure of a lifetime. You have to remember to cherish it. I understand, big brother. I won't say such words again. I will cherish it. Seeing that Ilya had stopped crying, Wu Ming turned to Xiaohei. So, Xiaohei, what do you think? Facing such a situation, Xiaohei couldn't say anything. Just like that, Wu Ming specially prepared a sumptuous dinner for Xiaohei. This time, everyone didn't play until the middle of the night like last time, but I want to live with Big Brother. Xiaohei hugged Wu Ming's arm with a smile, unwilling to let go. Wait, girls can't be so unreserved. Hurry up and let go of me. Ilya held Xiaohei's hand with a slightly red face and a rather embarrassed and angry expression. Ilya, you're too much. I can't live in Ilya's house. Don't tell me Ilya wants me to sleep on a park bench. That's too much, Ilya. Xiaohei's words stunned Ilya. Fortunately, Ilya was quick-witted and quickly spoke. Then you can also live in Big Sister Livia's house. Why must you live in Big Brother's house? Ilya said with embarrassment and anger. It's fine if it's me. Livia expressed that she didn't care. But I need to replenish my mana. Livia's mana isn't enough for me. I'm an existence that relies on the Archer class card. Only Big Brother's mana can maintain my existence. If I don't have mana and Big Brother isn't by my side, I might die. Ilya is really cruel. Is it that serious? Ilya was a little flustered. Of course, Xiaohei's claim that only Wu Ming's mana could provide Xiaohei with mana was wrong. In fact, with Xiaohei's current mana, as long as she didn't use her mana in battle, it wouldn't be a problem to maintain her existence for a few days. But right now, Xiaohei was indeed at a critical point. In addition to the mana explosion just now, if she were to fight again, she might directly disappear. Most importantly, Wu Ming said that Xiaohei was his younger sister, so it wasn't a big deal for his younger sister to live with him. All right, let Xiaohei stay. She's indeed lacking in mana now. Wu Ming spoke up for Xiaohei. Oh, okay. But Xiaohei, you can't mess around with Big Brother. Ilya was still a little worried. Although they had just met, Ilya could already feel Xiaohei's mischievousness. That will depend on my mood. What a sly answer. Amid the noise, the Shuayu residence returned to its happy time. Chapter 255. The next morning, Wu Ming took Little Black and Meiyu from the Shuyu residence to the Suigun Garden Academy. At this moment, Little Black, like Meiyu, was wearing the uniform of the Suigun Garden Academy primary school. This was Wu Ming's decision to let Little Black go to school. After all, Little Black could be very envious of Ilya's daily life. Wu Ming had long noticed this. As for the enrollment procedures, Wu Ming said that he knew some people in Winterwood City. Of course, Wu Ming's methods were all formal methods. Yes, that's right. Humph, 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 humph. Little Black held Wu Ming's hand and hummed happily. Are you that happy, Little Black? Wu Ming asked. It's okay. I used to watch Ilya go to school in the third person. Now that I can experience it myself, it's inevitable that I'm a little excited. Then, have a good experience of school life, Wu Ming said with a smile. Yes, I will cherish it, Big Brother, Little Black replied. At this moment, Wu Ming noticed that Meiyu, who was holding his other hand, was a little absent-minded. What's wrong, Meiyu? Wu Ming asked with concern. It's nothing, Brother Wu Ming. Meiyu shook her head. Wu Ming smiled. You don't look fine at all. However, even if Meiyu didn't say it, Wu Ming could more or less guess. It was nothing more than Little Black and Ilya's identity as the holy grail that touched Meiyu. I will protect you. Whether it's you, Little Black, or Ilya, I have the strength to protect you now. Wu Ming let go of Meiyu's hand and patted Meiyu's head. Oh, Meiyu is so cunning. Big Brother, I want it too. Little Black shook Wu Ming's hand and said coquettishly. Yes. Wu Ming smiled helplessly, let go of Little Black's hand, and patted Little Black's head. At this moment, Wu Ming found that the three had already arrived at school. Then Meiyu, Little Black, see you in the afternoon. Wu Ming waved at the two. Yes, Brother Wu Ming, Big Brother, goodbye. After Wu Ming left, he took out his phone and made a phone call. Yes, this is Einsteinberg. A lively female voice came from the other end of the phone. This is Wu Ming. Soon, Wu Ming made the call. Wu Ming returned to Shuayu's house, opened Dragonist, and took out some precious items that Wu Ming collected over the years. The reason why Wu Ming did that was because Wu Ming was going to make an item in his magic workshop. Last night, Wu Ming transferred a lot of magical power to Little Black by entering Magician's avatar, and also cast a blessing on Little Black. However, no matter how long the blessing was, there was a time limit. After all, Little Black was still a servant, and it was a special kind of servant that consumed magical power all the time. Although Wu Ming and Little Black could sign a contract, and Little Black's magical power was provided by Wu Ming thought of a way to solve the problem. That was to make an item that could automatically generate magical power, turn it into an organ similar to a magic circuit, and implant it into Little Black's body. In this way, Little Black would naturally be free. It took almost 2 or 3 hours. Wu Ming had a stone full of Lune runes in his hand. Fortunately, this body is a caster, magician, class, and it has the skill item creation, and I have your help, Collis. Otherwise, it will take me a few days to complete this item. At this time, Collis turned into a dragon horn crown with wings and floated beside Wu Ming. No, Master, with your wisdom, even without me, you can complete it in a short time. Ha ha, you think too highly of me, Kelly. I do have wisdom, but compared to you, I'm still far behind. The magic attire made by Zelik should not be underestimated. Ruby and Sapphire could instantly turn an elementary school student into a magical girl who could easily suppress a first-class magician, which was enough to show the power of the magic attire made by Zelik. As a magic attire made by Zelik for Wu Ming, Collis's value was even higher than Ruby and Sapphire. After all, Ruby and Sapphire were used for battle, and Kelly was a special accessory. Moreover, Kelly had evolved into a silent noble phantasm, so she was no longer in the category of accessories. Seriously speaking, Kelly could now be considered as an elf. There's still some time before Ilya and the others finish school, just enough time to prepare for the parallel world. The parallel world that Wu Ming mentioned was naturally Julian and the black mud born from the root. Wu Ming came to the door of the room in the center of the Shuayu mansion. This room was just an ordinary bedroom, but Wu Ming stretched out his hand and muttered something. Then, the door of the room opened automatically, revealing a futuristic-looking control room. However, the color of the control room was stone-colored, as if it was some ancient technology. This was a place that even Mayu didn't know about. Wu Ming used spatial technology to superimpose a layer of space on the foundation of the original room. This layer of space was used as the control room of the Shuayu mansion. A magician's magic workshop generally had various traps that increased the owner's attack power and weakened the enemy. As Wu Ming's magic workshop, the Shuayu mansion was naturally not ordinary. As early as when Wu Ming built this magic workshop, Wu Ming began to build this control room. Wu Ming was not the kind of person who would not fight back after being beaten. Wu Ming set up this magic workshop for offense, not defense. There was a large platform in the center of the control room, and at the edge of the control room were unknown instruments. The upper limit was clearly engraved with lines. Inside the control room, Wu Ming took out the staff of Ain's Ol On and the nameless spellbook. Wu Ming placed the staff of Ain's Ol On in a long, transparent cylinder, and the staff of Ain's Ol On floated up. The nameless spellbook was placed by Wu Ming in a groove of control panel. Then, Wu Ming sat on a platform in the center of the control room. This platform was similar to a sacrificial altar, and Wu Ming designed it to control the entire magic workshop with thought. After Wu Ming sat on the platform, he connected a line to his wrist, and a large amount of magic was transmitted to the control room. The whole control room began to operate on its own as if it had come over. The 7 gems on the staff of Ain's oral gown began to light up, and the entire staff began to glow with a myriad of colors. The nameless spellbook turned pages automatically, and countless words emerged from it and were absorbed by the lines on the control panel. Wu Ming used the staff of Ain's Ol On as a key to store the countless high-level spells in the nameless spellbook into the Shuayu mansion, turning it into a cannon that could release countless high-level spells. Most of the magic transmitted was stored. After all, it was impossible to release countless high-level spells without the support of magic. This mobile cannon would become terrifying under the control of Wu Ming in the future. Chapter 256. In the beginning, Wu-Ming also wanted to equip the Shiyue residence with an engine with infinite magic power, which could provide infinite magic power for the casting of magic. However, Wu-Ming really could not make a device that could instantly extract and provide almost infinite magic power. The reason why he could make the so-called infinite magic power device for Little Black was only because the device would restore magic power to Little Black bit by bit. Simply put, it was the same as an ordinary magic circuit, storing magic power and slowly and automatically recovering it. The magic power supply device needed by the Shiyue residents needed to extract unimaginable magic power in an instant. If it was a device that slowly and automatically recovered magic power, the Shiyue residence was naturally equipped with it. However, there was no magic power device that could instantly produce unimaginable magic power. It was like a faucet. The size of the faucet and the pipe related to the amount of water produced. If it was a very thin pipe and a very small faucet, then the amount of water produced would be pitifully small. If it was a large pipe that was a few meters thick and a large faucet with a diameter that was also a few meters, the amount of water produced would definitely be much more. In Wu-Ming's current view, the so-called magic power perpetual motion machine that could provide infinite magic power was only Wu-Ming himself. As the root dragon, Wu-Ming's magic power could be said to be infinite. The reason for this was that Wu-Ming's magic power was really too much. Magic power recovery was far greater than magic power use, so Wu-Ming had never worried about magic power issues. In short, Wu-Ming could not make a device that provided infinite magic power. Therefore, Wu-Ming came here whenever he was free and constantly stored magic power in the Shiyue residence's magic power warehouse. With the staff of Ain's Olgown as the key, the nameless spellbook as the attack text, and Wu-Ming's infinite magic power as the driving force, this constructed a mobile, high firepower, infinite magic power turret. It was almost time for the elementary school of the Sui Kun Garden Academy to be dismissed. Wu-Ming stopped the infusion of magic power, removed the wires on his arm, walked down the altar, and left the room. Wu-Ming kept the brilliant soft Ain's Oalgo and the nameless spellbook. Previously, Wu-Ming had always been here, but when Wu-Ming left, he took the two treasures away. The scene changed, and Wu-Ming drove to the entrance of Sui Kun Yuan Primary School. After a few minutes, the school bell rang. Looking at the children coming out one after another, Wu-Ming began to miss them. At this time, Wu-Ming saw Ilya and the others come out. However, the situation was not looking good. Ilya looked at Little Black angrily, while Little Black had a happy smile on his face. Mayu sighed helplessly at the side. Needless to say, Xiaohei must have provoked Ilya on purpose. Although Wu-Ming and Blackie had only been together for a few days, Wu-Ming understood Blackie's mischievous nature very well. Wu-Ming helplessly shook his head. Wu-Ming opened the door, got out of the car, and walked towards Ilya and the others. From afar, Blackie discovered Wu-Ming. Big brother. Blackie waved his small hand and ran towards Wu-Ming. It's Big Brother. Blackie, don't run. Ilya also discovered Wu-Ming, but after seeing Blackie run away, she immediately chased after him. Really? Mayu helplessly smiled and then ran after him. Big brother, Blackie missed you so much. Blackie can't wait to replenish his mana. Let's start now. Blackie hugged Wu-Ming and rubbed against Wu-Ming's chest. Then, he said something that made Ilya furious. No. Blackie, how can you be so unrestrained? Even if you want to replenish your mana, you can't do it on the streets. Ilya's face was flushed red. She instantly pounced on Wu-Ming and stopped Blackie. Brother Wu-Ming. Mayu ran over. She did not even have time to catch her breath. Yo, Mayu. Wu-Ming greeted Mayu. Then, Wu-Ming pulled Blackie and Ilya, who were lying on his body, away and squatted down. All right, it's time to go home. I drove here today. Blackie was excited again. Then I want to sit in the front passenger seat. Blackie raised a small hand and said excitedly, Damn it, Blackie is so cunning. I want to sit in the front passenger seat too. Ilya fought for him. I said it first. I want to sit in the front passenger seat. I don't want to. Wu-Ming smiled helplessly. Then, He pulled Mayo's hand. Mayu will sit in the front passenger seat today. Mayu was shocked. Why is it like this? Ilya said with some regret. As expected, Mayu is the difficulty in getting Big Brother, Blackie said helplessly. Get me? What are you guys up to now? Wooming pretended to be serious as he looked at Ilya and Blackie. It's fine, it's fine. Let's go, Big Brother. That's right. It's better to go home quickly. Blackie and Ilya echoed each other. Wooming flicked Blackie and Ilya's foreheads. Ignoring Blackie and Ilya's screams, Wooming pulled Mayu toward the car. On the road, Wooming sat in the driver's seat and drove the car steadily. Mayu sat in the front passenger seat with a calm expression. Xiao He and Ilya, on the other hand, sat obediently in the back row, looking like obedient girls. Later, Ilya will stay at my house and accompany Mayu. I need to do something with Blackie later. I've already spoken to Sarah for you. So sudden? I understand. Although Ilya was somewhat puzzled, she still nodded obediently. Mayu, I've already prepared the meal. I've already used magic to keep it warm. You and Ilya can eat directly after you go back. There's no need to wait for us, Wooming said to Mayu without turning his head. I understand, Brother Wooming. Mayu nodded her little head. Big Brother, what are you bringing me to do? It can't be something embarrassing, right? Blackie pretended to be shy as she touched her face. How could it be? Big Brother isn't that kind of person. Also, don't do these shameful actions again. Ilya blushed again because of Little Black. I won't. Soon, accompanied by Ilya's helpless screams and Blackie's smug laughter, Wooming drove to the Shua Yu residence. Then, we'll be leaving first, Wooming said to Mayu and Ilya who got out of the car. Okay, goodbye, Brother Wooming. Big Brother, be careful on the road. Wooming waved his hand and started the car. Then, where are you bringing me, Big Brother? Blackie sat in the front passenger seat and became serious. To see someone who's rather special to you, Blackie. Chapter 257. Wooming brought Little Black to a small park near the school. At this moment, it was evening. For some reason, there was almost no one around. Wooming got out of the car and held Little Black's hand. Is the important person Big Brother mentioned here? Little Black looked up with a puzzled expression. However, Wooming did not answer Little Black's question. After walking a few steps, Wooming stopped. At the same time, Little Black, who was being held, also stopped. We're here. Little Black looked ahead. A noble lady with long snow-white hair was standing under the setting sun, waiting quietly. Just like when she saw Wooming and Little Black, the noble lady looked over and smiled. Liar, liar. Why are you here? Mother. That's right. Standing in the small park and waiting quietly was Little Black's mother, also Ilya's mother, Alice Phil von Erzburen. It's Mother, Ilya. No, it's Chloe Chan. Alice Phil greeted Xiao He with a smile. Blackie was at a loss of what to do. It was as if its legs were rooted to the ground and could not move. Why is Mother here? Little Black was at a loss as he spoke. It's because Mr. Wooming called me. Only then did I know that so many things had happened to my daughter, Alice Phil said as she walked toward Wooming and Little Black step by step. Big Brother. Little Black looked at Wooming with a wronged expression. Wooming patted Little Black's head, then gave Little Black's hand to him. After all, your real home is not here, Little Black. Also, you've always wanted to see your mother. Big Brother. Wooming looked at Little Black with an encouraging gaze. Then, Little Black nodded silently and looked at Alice Phil, who was walking over. Wooming left the small park and returned to the car, giving the mother and daughter some space. Through the car window, Wooming looked at Little Black, who had begun to cry, and Alice Phil, who was comforting Little Black and wiping her tears. As early as noon, Wooming had set up a spell to disperse idle people here. Therefore, Wooming was not worried that someone would barge in and ruin the atmosphere between Little Black and Alice Phil. At noon, Wooming found Alice Phil's phone number from the information he asked from Zelik and called her. Then, Wooming told Alice Field about what had happened to Ilya during this time. Although Alice Field expressed that she was surprised, Wooming didn't believe that Alice Field didn't know about his daughter's situation during this time. As early as 10 years ago, the House of Einstein Baron's family had disappeared, That was what he told Wuming. The house of Einstein Baron's family has disappeared. Wuming could more or less guess. It was nothing more than being eliminated by her parents who wanted to protect Ilya through some means. The seal of the Holy Grail War was probably also facilitated by Ilya's parents. Wuming expressed that he wanted Little Black to meet Alice Phil, and Alice Phil readily agreed. As a result, the previous scene appeared. Little Black seemed to be relieved and gave up the idea of getting rid of Ilya, but that was only because Wuming was here. From the moment Little Black was born, her meaning was denied. Until now, the reason why Little Black wanted to kill Ilya was because Little Black was unwilling. Why could she have a family, but I can't? Why can she have friends, but I can't? Why can she have a right to enjoy daily life, but I can't? Why can she be loved by Big Brother, but I can't? This was Little Black's unwillingness. Now, Little Black already had family, friends, daily life, and even Wuming's love. However, maternal love was the only thing that Wuming couldn't give, and maternal love was what Little Black lacked the most. Through the car window, Wuming saw that Little Black had already thrown herself into Alice Phil's arms and was crying. Alice Phil patted Little Black's back. It seemed that Little Black and Alice Phil had reconciled. Now, the breath that Little Black held in her heart had been released. Looking at the mother and daughter hugging each other, Wuming couldn't help but think of Mayu. Wuming took out his phone and dialed Mayu's number. "Brother Wuming?" Mayu's puzzled voice came from the other end of the phone. Wuming vaguely heard Ilya's voice asking, "Is that Big Brother? Mayu?" "No, it's fine. Let's go see the sea this weekend, just the two of us." There was a rush of breathing from the other end of the phone. Then, a joyful voice came from the other end of the phone. Okay. At night, Wuming drove back to the Shuayu residence alone. Little Black, who was relieved with Alice Phil, had already gone home with Alice Phil. This was also the reason why Wuming let Ilya stay in his house. Let Little Black enjoy maternal love alone tonight. After getting out of the car, Wuming pushed open the door of the Shuayu residence and walked in. As soon as Wuming entered, he saw Mayu sitting alone on the side edge looking at the moon. "Mayu, why aren't you sleeping yet?" Wuming walked to the side edge and sat beside Mayu. "I want to sleep with Brother Wuming tonight," Mayu said with a slightly red face. In response, Wuming smiled and patted Mayu's head. "Then let's do it together." "Okay." Mayu smiled. Her smile was very beautiful. Now, the depression in Mayu's heart for the past few days was also vented. The next day, at the entrance of the primary school of the Sway Garden Academy. Hey. Ilya's surprised voice came. Wuming held Mayu and Ilya's hand. Opposite him was Alice Phil and Little Black, who was holding Alice Phil's hand. At this moment, Little Black's face was filled with a smug smile as she looked at Ilya. "Long time no see, Ilya-chan," Alice Phil greeted Ilya happily. "Mom, why is Mom here? When did you come back? Also, why was Little Black sent to school by Mom?" Ilya said with some jealousy. "That's because I'm Mom's real daughter. Ilya is just a little girl that everyone dotes on." Little Black began to tease Ilya again. "Oof, I still have Big Brother. Big Brother came to send me off today," Ilya said, unwilling to admit defeat. "Oh, is that so? Isn't Big Brother sending Mayu off and also sending you off?" Little Black narrowed her eyes and looked at Ilya. Hey, this was Mayu who was innocently dragged into this. No way, Little Black is an idiot. Accompanied by the noise, the three entered the school together. "Thank you very much, Mr. Wuming." Alice Phil bowed to Wuming to express her gratitude. Wuming waved his hand. "Madam, you don't have to do this. Whether it's Little Black or Ilya, they're the same as Mayu. They're all my sisters. This is what I should do. Also, even if I call you, you will come back, right?" Then, Wuming turned and left. "You're right, Mr. Hyunryong. I'll be counting on you from now on." Wuming stretched out a hand and waved without saying anything. Chapter 258. After a few days, Rin in Osaka and Livia confirmed that Little Black was harmless, and Rin in Osaka resumed his inspection of the ley line. After all, his initial goal was to infuse mana into the ley line to detect any abnormalities. After infusing mana, Wuming's return and the backlash from the ley line's mana caused Little Black to appear. Now is the time to solve the ley line problem. Rin in Osaka found Wu Ming and wanted him to accompany him. How should I put it? After all, you're the most capable one among us. It's safer with you around. These were Rin in Osaka's exact words. Wu Ming wasn't too interested in this, but if there was a problem with the ley line, he would have to spend money, and Winterwood City wouldn't have it easy. Therefore, Wu Ming followed Rin in Osaka to the big hole in Yuzong Mountain. Fortunately, the previous collapse only buried the entrance, and the interior wasn't too damaged. After clearing the entrance, Wu Ming and Rin in Osaka entered the big hole without much trouble. After choosing the location, Rin in Osaka set up a series of instruments and began to inspect the ley line. After chanting a series of incantations, Rin Inbin tossed a burning gem onto a piece of parchment that was placed on a rack. In an instant, the parchment began to burn in a regular pattern from where the gemstone had fallen. A strange map appeared. It was a plain map of Winterwood City's ley line. What? Rin in Osaka said in disbelief. Wu Ming walked over to take a look and found that on the thickest ley line there was a small square flaw. Is that the mirror realm? Wu Ming said uncertainly. Yes, without a doubt. This is the mirror realm of the class card. Rin in Osaka said solemnly. The 9th class card? Wu Ming said thoughtfully. Logically speaking, that class card shouldn't exist. Shiro Amiya from Meiyo's world used 7 class cards to send Meiyu to this world. Including Wu Ming, there were a total of 8 class cards. From what Wu Ming knew, there were 9 class cards created by Ainsworth. King Arthur's Saber, Cuculin's Lancer, Hero King's Archer, Medusa's Rider, Demetrius's Caster, Hassan's Assassin, and Hercules and Lancelot's Berserker. Lancelot's card had always been kept by Sakura Madu. At that time, Sakura thought that the card given by Julian was Gilgamesh's card, so she didn't have time to use Lancelot's card before Shinji Madu knocked her unconscious. Shiro Amiya's card was originally a useless one. Because of an accident, it connected to the future heroic spirit on the heroic spirit throne, which was the heroic spirit that Shiro Amiya transformed into in a parallel world. The Holy Grail ritual only required 7 class cards, and Wu Ming himself was considered a stowaway. Therefore, Wu Ming really couldn't figure out why there was another class card. Well, with you as an extra caster class card, I'm almost used to having a few more class cards. Rin in Osaka said somewhat dispiritedly. Do you hate the trouble? Wu Ming said rather helplessly. Wu Ming could naturally see that the reason why Rin in Osaka was so dispirited was naturally because there was one more class card that needed to be recycled. That's for sure. Let's not talk about the Great Master's request for us to analyze the class cards. Even I don't have much confidence in this additional 9th card. Wu Ming also had a dignified look on his face. Rin in Osaka was right. This class card must have appeared around the time when other class cards appeared. So, after a month, this card had absorbed a lot of mana from the ley line, and its own strength was almost comparable to a real servant. If this class card was a first-class card, then it was likely to have evolved to the strength of a first-class servant. If Wu Ming's original body was here, Wu Ming naturally didn't need to be afraid. However, the current Wu Ming was just a clone of Wu Ming's original body that was projected in this world after the root fell asleep. Naturally, his strength was greatly weakened. As for the recycling of this class card, leave it to me. I don't need the help of you, including Ilya and the others. Rin in Osaka struggled a few times, and then he was relieved. That's right. Even the recycling of the previous class cards required your help. This time, even if we participate, I'm afraid we will only be a burden. Wu Ming smiled and then comforted Rin in Osaka. Don't be so pessimistic. I still know a little about the analysis of class cards, and I should be able to help you. Although Wu Ming could directly use his skills to create class cards, the class cards that he created had a time limit, and it must be a class card that had been analyzed before. Because of this, Wu Ming knew a little about the structure of class cards. It had to be said that Julian was really a rare genius in 100 years, or even 1,000 years. He modified the most basic replacement magic, and made it extremely powerful. Even the power of heroic spirits could be replaced. Unfortunately, Julian was almost completely corroded by the black mud. Now, there was no hope for him. Really? You really know the structure of class cards? Rin in Osaka's eyes lit up as if he wanted to devour Wuming. He stared at Wuming covetously. I know a little. After the recycling of the last class card, I will help you analyze it. Wuming waved his hand to calm Rin in Osaka down. Hee. Actually, you only need to help me analyze it. You don't have to care about Livia. Rin in Osaka had a fawning expression. Let's talk about this later. Let's go back and tell Ilya and the others about the class cards problem and prepare for the recycling. As he spoke, Wuming began to walk toward the entrance of the big hole. I still think it's better not to tell Ilya and the others. With their personality, they definitely won't let you take the risk alone. Rin in Osaka followed behind Wuming and expressed his opinion. Wuming shook his head. Although that's the case, don't forget that with their observational skills, they'll definitely notice something abnormal. Ignoring Ilya for now, Mayu is my younger sister. She's been with me for 5 years. She'll definitely notice anything that I do. Now that you mention it, it does seem to be the case. Rin in Osaka nodded. Then, Rin in Osaka asked again. Right, the class cards mirror world is deep underground. How are you going to go down? Do you need my and Livia's help? I'm going to use brute force. Brute force? Rin in Osaka was confused. Yes, we will use high-density magic to dig underground until we reach the mirror world. Rin in Osaka was speechless. Leave the opening of the tunnel to us. Rin in Osaka wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. As expected, heroic spirits were a bunch of weird existences. Chapter 259. Wuming and Rin Inbin went their separate ways. Wuming returned to the Shuayu residence while Rin Inbin went to Livia's house to discuss the matter. As for Blackie, because he had a heart-to-heart talk with his mother, Alice Field, a few days ago, he moved out of Wuming's house and returned to his own home. Although Ilya still looked unhappy, anyone could tell that she was very happy. Wuming returned to the Shuayu residence. As soon as he entered the house, he saw Mayu looking at some photos with great interest. They were photos taken a few days ago when Wuming and Mayu went to the beach together. They were basically photos of Wuming and Mayu. As for who took the photos, it was naturally Collis. You've been looking at them for a few days. Haven't you seen enough? Wuming realized that Mayu did not notice Wuming and hugged Mayu from behind. Mayu let out a cute cry. It's its brother Wuming. Don't scare me. Mayu blushed and looked at Wuming with some resentment. Mayu, Sama was too engrossed in the photos and didn't notice Wuming, Sama's arrival. Sapphire explained. Wuming let go of Mayu and sat beside Mayu. He patted Mayu's head. Don't be too attached to these photos. This kind of life will continue. I will also often look at the sea with you. So, you must always let me see Mayu smile. I know, brother Wuming. Mayu smiled and enjoyed Wuming's patting. Suddenly, Wuming's phone rang. Wuming picked up the phone and heard Rin Inbin's voice. There's an enemy attack. Something happened to Livia. What's wrong, brother Wuming? Mayu looked at the serious Wuming and asked. Something happened to Livia's house. Something happened. Moving forward in the timeline, Rin Inbin, who had parted ways with Wuming, arrived at Livia's house and instantly realized that something was wrong. Livia's house was set up with a barrier. As long as one was outside the barrier, no matter how one looked, the interior would not change. As a first-rate magician, Rin Inbin was naturally able to detect a trace of mana emanating from the barrier at such a close distance. He pushed the door open and walked in. A series of explosions and sounds of fighting came out of the mansion. Damn, there really is an enemy attack. Then, Rin Inbin took out his phone and called Wuming. There's an enemy attack. Something happened to Livia. With that, Rin in Osaka hung up the phone and rushed into the house. As soon as he entered the house, Rin Inbin noticed that the battle was happening in the living room. Therefore, Rin Inbin entered the mansion through another small door. Then, Rin Inbin came to the living room and saw the battle through the side door. Livia was standing in a corner, looking at a purple-haired tomboy with a serious expression. The tomboy was fighting with a white-haired, white-bearded, and bespectacled old man wearing a steward's uniform. Wu-ming had seen this old man before. He was Livia's steward, Ogiest. The tomboy was Bizet, who wanted to take back Wu-ming's rank card. Damn, why'd it have to be this guy? If it wasn't for Wu-ming, I don't think all of us could beat her, Rin Inbin said in frustration. He then took out a few gems and threw them at Bizet's back. In an instant, a large explosion occurred. Although they couldn't beat Bizet, even if they worked together, Rin Inbin didn't want to beat Bizet. After all, Rin Inbin had already notified Wu-ming. As long as we can delay until Wu-ming arrives, it'll be our victory. With this thought in mind, Rin Inbin tossed a few more gems into the smoke of the explosion. Another explosion occurred. Rin Inbin, why did you come out? Looking at Rin Inbin, who appeared to attack Bazet, Livia said with some annoyance. I've already notified Wu-ming. He'll be here soon. Rin Inbin took out a few more gems and prepared to shoot them at Bazet. Wu-ming, you guys are quite confident in this person. Although I don't know who this person is, and I don't know if he has the ability to defeat me, you don't have to worry about that because Bazet's voice pierced through the smoke. Bazet waved his hand, and a gust of wind blew the smoke away. I can defeat all of you before he arrives. TSK. Looks like he's going to use his true strength. Be careful, Livia, Rin Inbin said with a frown. Of course, I know. You better take care of yourself. Rin Inbin. Livia also had a serious expression on her face. However, she didn't forget to bicker with Rin Tozaka during the battle. This wasn't something to be praised. Immediately after, Livia, Ogiest, and Rin Inbin surrounded Bazet and started a 3-versus-1 battle, but they were suppressed instead. Wu-ming opened the teleportation door and brought Mayu and Sapphire to Livia's house. Coincidentally, Ilya, Blackie, and Ruby also arrived at Livia's house. Ilya, Blackie, did you guys also receive a call from Sister In? Mayu asked when she saw her friends. Ilya and Blackie shook their heads. We just heard an explosion in Sister Livia's house, so Ruby, Blackie, and I came out. Did Big Brother and Mayu get called over by Sister Rin? Ilya answered Mayu's doubts and asked a question while she was at it. Well, Sister Rin just called Brother Wu-ming, saying that there are enemies attacking. Livia and Brother Wu-ming directly used Brother Wu-ming's magic teleportation door to bring Sapphire and me here. Mayu said with some fear, because Mayu had never experienced a teleportation door. So when Mayu entered the teleportation door, she felt a bit uncomfortable with the teleportation door's black hole. Let's go in quickly. Wu-ming was a bit worried about Rin Inbin and Livia's safety. Enemies that could make Rin Inbin send out a distress signal. Whether the two of them could hold on was another matter. Ilya and the others also nodded. Then, Wu-ming pushed open the big iron door and walked in. The glass on the lower floor was completely shattered, and it looked like a villa that had been attacked by terrorists. Boom! A terrifying loud sound came from the villa. Fear the one with wings. Evil people and powerful people are all afraid of me who have wings. My wings will bring you a curse. Evil people can't hit me. Wu-ming chanted the words of the Phoenix incarnation. Following a burst of illusory body, the afterimage left behind on the spot gradually disappeared. Wu-ming disappeared in front of Ilya and the others. This was a phenomenon of excessive speed. Ilya, Mayu, Blackie, I'll go in first. The three of you be careful. At this time, Wu-ming's voice came from the void. So fast. This was what the three of them were thinking. Chapter 260. Wu-ming activated lightning speed and instantly arrived at the villa's living room. As soon as he entered the hall, what entered Wu-ming's eyes was a dilapidated scene. Livia's butler, Ogiest, was knocked unconscious and leaned against the sunken wall. Livia was held by the neck by Bizet and hung up. Rin Inosaka was lying on the ground, but from the expression on his face, it could be seen that Rin Inosaka had been trying to stand up. Seeing Wu-ming came, Rin Inosaka simply gave up the idea of standing up. Really, you finally came. We almost couldn't hold on. Rin Inosaka was lying face down on the ground. His voice was muffled. What do you mean almost couldn't hold on? we couldn't hold on. It's all your fault. Rin in Osaka. Why did you come out so early? Maybe we could have held on a little longer. Livia was held by the neck and weakly complained. Seeing you guys so energetic, I really don't know why I rushed here. Seeing Rin in Osaka and Livia still so energetic, Wuming waved his hand with a slight smile. Then, Wuming looked at Bizet rather seriously. So, Bizet, you can let go now. Bizet immediately let go of Livia and faced Wuming in a serious posture. Ever since Wu Ming's arrival, Bizet's entire body tensed up. After Wu Ming saw that the enemy was Bizet, he could almost guess what was going on. It was nothing more than some small tricks from the clock tower's higher-ups. For these higher-ups, Wu Ming decided to go back and have chat with them. Didn't they like heroic spirits and servants? Wu Ming will let them like it. For Bizet, the enemy in front of him was the Wu Ming that Rin in Osaka and Livia spoke of. Although he didn't know why this servant appeared here, and he didn't know why it had such a good relationship with Rin Inbin and the others, it didn't prevent Bizet from knowing that Wu Ming was an enemy. However, to Wu Ming, there was nothing to fear from Bizet. As long as Bizet was not allowed to use the backlight sword, he would not be a threat to Wu Ming at all. Wu Ming wasn't a sure-kill method, but he had plenty of methods. No matter how bad it was, he could still use force to subdue Bazet. I almost forgot that I didn't tell you my name. For you, the name Wu Ming might not be enough for you to remember. Wu Ming looked at the unusually vigilant Bizet and smiled. Just as he was about to introduce himself, Bizet interrupted him. The great sage who taught the most ancient king, the Uruk Hyunryong. Bizet's eyes shone. Wu Ming was a little surprised. I didn't expect that after a short period of contact, you could actually guess my real name. This is worthy of praise, but Wu Ming's magical power suddenly erupted, and the originally broken floor directly turned into powder. A large number of runes quickly wrapped around Wu Ming's body. This was Wu Ming using Lune runes to strengthen himself. His master, Ska, often did this because it was more convenient. Bizet, who had a little knowledge of Lune runes, understood the meaning of these runes at a glance. All of them are power. Yes, Wu Ming used a large number of Lune runes that represented power to strengthen himself. For Bizet, who also used Lune runes to strengthen his hands, after a large number of Lune runes enhancement, Wu Ming's physical strength had reached an incredible level. For ordinary people, as long as they were touched, their body would instantly shatter. If it was a magician, although it's not as good as the giant incarnation, but I'll be gentle. If you are hit, your life or death is up to fate. Wu Ming finished and disappeared. In a flash, Wu Ming, who had not yet exited from the lightning speed state, instantly appeared behind Bizet. What? Bizet gritted his teeth and frowned. With such a fast speed, even she could only catch a trace of shadow. She only saw Wu Ming lightly throwing a punch, and the fist fell on Bizet's body. Bang! Bizet was heavily hit by Wu Ming and was directly hit out of the hall by Wu Ming. With Wu Ming as the center, the entire floor was completely shattered. Even Livia's villa began to shake. The impact of Wu Ming's fist broke the supporting structure of Livia's villa. If it wasn't for the magic protection of Livia's house and Wu Ming's deliberate mercy, Livia's villa would have collapsed. Wu Ming put the Phoenix Incarnation and the Enhanced Strength Lune runes in contact, and then picked up 3 stones from the ground. Wu Ming's hand gently touched the stones, and 3 Lune runes full of vitality were engraved on the stones. Wu Ming threw 2 stones to Livia, who was weak but could still stand. Livia hurriedly caught the stones and looked at Wu Ming in confusion. These are the Lune runes that represent life. You can use them by injecting magic into them. You can use one first, and the other one is for Ogiest. Thank you, Wu Ming, Livia said sincerely. Wu Ming was a little surprised. I didn't expect Miss to have such a frank side. After all, Livia could be very arrogant. It was difficult for her to say a word of thanks. The people of the Eiderfeld family naturally repay kindness. As the next head of the Eiderfeld family, I naturally can't disgrace the family. Livia instantly became arrogant again. After thanking him, Livia walked toward Ogiest. Ogiest had been in close combat with Bazet, so he had suffered a lot of damage. Compared to Livia, who could still move, Ogiest, who had fainted, undoubtedly needed it the most. Wuming didn't care about her and walked toward Rin Enbin. You finally came. I can only say that you're worthy of being called you. You can even subdue a monster that can fight a servant. Although Rin Enbin said weakly, Wuming could sense that although Rin Enbin's body was seriously injured, his magic was still sufficient. His inability to stand was only caused by physical injuries. You heard what I said, Olivia, just now. Hurry up and use it. Wuming said as he handed the stone engraved with Lune runes to Rin Enbin. I got it. You should go take a look at Bizet first. That guy is known as a monster. Maybe he's still alive and kicking. Although Wuming deliberately showed mercy, Wuming's punch was not that easy to take. Wuming estimated that Bizet might be paralyzed on the ground now. Yes, I know, Miss Rin. However, because of Rin Enbin's eagerness, Wuming prepared to go and see. Chapter 261. Wuming walked out of the hole in the wall that was created when he hit Bizet. After coming out, Wuming saw Ilya and Little Black, who had transformed. One was squatting on the ground looking at Bizet, and the other was looking around vigilantly with Mayu, who had also transformed. After all, they didn't know if there were other enemies around. Bizet was lying on the cracked and sunken ground, constantly struggling to stand up. Wuming said whether he could survive or not just to scare Bizet. Wuming controlled his strength very well. He just broke Bizet's spine and other parts of Bizet's arm and leg bones, but he didn't kill Bizet. That caused Bizet to be unable to move normally. However, Bizet was worthy of being called a monster by Rin Enbin. Most of his bones and spine were broken, but Bizet was still able to stand up. I really have some doubts about whether you are a human, Bizet. Wuming looked at Bizet with admiration. No matter what, such an opponent should be respected. Ilya, Mayu, and Little Black took 2 steps back and looked at the magician who didn't look like a human. Since you now know that I am on their side, then do you still want to seize all the cards? Wuming wasn't in a hurry to deal with Bizet. Instead, he talked to him. The higher-ups didn't expect that there would be a servant to stop them. The mission has changed. I need to ask the higher-ups for instructions. Although his bones were broken, Bizet seemed to have used some special method to block the pain. Although his body was a little embarrassed, Bizet didn't seem to feel any pain. He was very calm and talked to Wuming. You don't need to ask the higher-ups. I will go directly to them. You can stay here. After that, Wuming activated Heavenlock. Golden spatial ripples appeared around Bazet, and suddenly, golden chains appeared out of nowhere and bound him. The chain that connects the sky and earth of Mesopotamia? Bizet seemed to recognize the chain and gave up struggling. Even if she struggled, she wouldn't be able to break free. What's going on, big brother? Ilya asked, somewhat at a loss. That's right. Don't keep us in the dark. Blackie agreed. Wuming's big hands instantly pressed Ilya's and Blackie's heads and rubbed them vigorously. You too. You still have class tomorrow. This is your punishment. Hurry up and go back to sleep. Sob. Little Black and Ilya sobbed. Wuming let go of Blackie and Ilya, and the two began to complain. Really, big brother is so rude. Ilya rubbed her hair that was messed up by Wuming with a red face and complained while looking at Wuming. Also, why is Mayu fine? Blackie's face was also red as he pointed at Mayu, who was standing beside Wuming. Me? The little companions who were implicated looked at the two in a daze. Yes, that's right. Mayu also needs to be punished. Then let us punish her. Then, Ilya and Blackie looked at Mayu with an evil expression and walked toward her step by step. Wait a moment. Wuming took 2 steps back in a panic. Bang! 2 knocks sounded. Wuming put away the hand that he used to hit Ilya and Blackie, looked at the 2 little Lolas who were hugging their heads, and said, Mayu is much more self-disciplined than the 2 of you. Mayu is such an obedient little sister, so how can I punish her? Only disobedient little sisters can be used to tease. Cough, educate. Sob, big brother is bullying. Ilya looked at Wuming with tears in her eyes. Yes, big brother is bullying. Blackie also learned from Ilya. The 2 of you. Wuming shook his head. not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Then he used his finger that was infused with magic power to poke their foreheads. It doesn't hurt anymore. Ilya touched her forehead and looked at Wuming with amazement. It's just a little trick. Hurry up and go back. Ling and Livia are fine. I will tell you what happened tomorrow. Also, when you came out, you must not have explained to Sela and the others clearly. She must be worried about the two of you now. Wuming reminded. Not good, Blackie. Let's go back quickly. Ilya pulled Blackie's hand and hurriedly ran back. Don't pull me, Ilya. At this moment, Rin Inosuke, Livia and Livia's butler, August, who had already recovered, walked out of the house. Sister Rin, Sister Livia, Grandpa August, are you okay? Seeing the few people who were in a sorry state, Mayu ran over and asked worriedly. Although she knew that her brother Wuming said that they were fine, Mayu still couldn't help but worry. We are already fine. Thanks to the Lune Stone provided by Wuming, the effect was unexpectedly good. Rin Inosaka said, and moved his arm to show that he was now very healthy. After all, their sorry state was only because their clothes were dirty in the battle. The injuries caused by the battle had already healed. Thank you for your concern, Mayu. We are fine. Now, we need to pay attention to the problem of how to deal with this. Livia finished speaking and looked at Bizet, who was tied up by Wuming's heavenlock. Bizet closed his eyes and looked like he was waiting to be slaughtered. At this moment, Wuming expressed his opinion. Regarding this matter, I will personally go to the clock tower to deal with it. Bizet will stay in the Shuayu residence. However, not only Rin and Osaka and Livia, but even August and Mayu could sense that when Wuming said that he would personally deal with it, his eyes became very scary. However, it was also very reliable. Having a reliable partner is really reassuring. Then, I will leave it to you, Wuming. Rin and Osaka and Livia looked at each other and smiled. Right? How are you going to sleep tonight? Although the house hasn't completely collapsed, part of the house has been destroyed. How about staying in the Shuayu residence temporarily? Wuming suggested. August, go and check the damage of the villa. If it really can't be done, we will go to Wuming and Mayo's house. Livia ordered her butler. Yes, Mississippi. With that, the strong old man strode toward the back of the villa and began to check the situation of the villa. At this moment, Wuming walked toward Bizet. Wuming, are you going to do something to Bizet? Rin and Osaka asked curiously when he saw Wuming's actions. Yes, I have basically broken all of Bizet's bones. If I don't fix it now, it might leave some hidden injuries in the future. With that, lines of Lune runes representing repair, life, and heal appeared in Wuming's hand and wrapped around Bizet's body. Bizet looked deeply at Wuming and didn't say anything. Then Rin Inosaka asked, by the way, should we postpone the matter of the 9th rank card? Chapter 262. When Rin Inbin brought up this topic, Mayo's expression suddenly changed. Wuming naturally noticed it. Let's talk about this tomorrow. It's already late. Everyone should go back and rest. Then, without waiting for Rin Inbin and Livia to react, Wuming opened the teleportation door and left with Mayu and Bizet. Where Wuming left, a stone engraved with mysterious runes was left there. The stone glowed, and Wuming's voice came from the sky. When you decide to live here, inject magic into this rune stone, and it will open the teleportation door. Mayu and I will go back first. The voice disappeared, and only the runes on the stone glowed. Rin Inbin and Livia looked at each other, and both of them saw the clues in each other's eyes. Seems like Wuming and Mayu have some secret that they don't want us to know. And it's a secret that has a lot to do with rank cards. However, the two's conversation ended there. Then, Rin Inbin picked up the runestone. After this crisis, Wuming's relationship with Rin Inbin and Livia improved. Since they obviously didn't want them to know, then there was no need to ask. When the time came, Wuming would definitely tell them. Just like Rin Inbin and Livia, they usually looked like they were fighting to the death, but when the time came, the two of them could cooperate very well. This was the bond that existed even in the Dark Magician world. Shawasuki Mansion. Wuming walked out of the teleportation door with Mayu, who was no longer in her transformed state. As for Bizet, She was already thrown into the Shuo Suki mansion by Wuming using the teleportation door. Wuming believed that Bizet wouldn't run away. It should be said that she was trapped in Wuming's magic workshop and couldn't escape. Brother Wuming, Meiyu timidly called out to Wuming. Are you thinking about the 9th rank card? Wuming squatted down and looked at Meiyu. Wuming once told Meiyu that she became a rank card and followed Wuming from another world. However, even if that was the case, there should only be 8 rank cards, and the 9th one shouldn't exist. Brother Wuming, could it be? Wuming looked at Wuming worriedly. Wuming naturally understood Meiyu's meaning. Meiyu was worried that the Ainsworth family chased her to this world. Although Meiyu was once called the Holy Grail by the Ainsworth family, and Meiyu was also the center of the Holy Grail War, but because of the protection of Wuming and Shiro Amiya, Meiyu didn't suffer too much harm, so Meiyu didn't show a particularly scared look. Because Brother Wuming is by my side, as long as Brother Wuming is by my side, I have infinite motivation. Meiyu had always relied on this idea to fight. It's okay, Meiyu. Wuming touched Meiyu's head. I will personally retrieve the rank card, and I will do it with all my strength. After all, he didn't know whether this rank card was Ainsworth's bait, but if he didn't retrieve it, it would cause harm to the ley line, so Wuming decided to retrieve the card in a safe manner. I want to go with Brother Wuming. Meiyu looked at Wuming with particular determination. I now have the power to fight. Although I am very happy to accept Brother Wuming's protection, if possible, I want to fight with Brother Wuming. Wuming, who had long guessed that Meiyu would say this, smiled with some relief. It's good that you have such thoughts, but you have to know one thing, Meiyu. If this is a conspiracy of the Ainsworth family, then they will definitely play tricks after we enter the mirror world. As their target, you are the first person to bear the brunt of their protection. This is why I want you to retrieve the card with me. Moreover, if I encounter any traps or accidents in the mirror world, you and Ilya can still support me outside. If we're all turtles in a jar, then everything is over. Wuming persuaded Meiyu earnestly. But shouldn't Brother Wuming, the strongest one, be the trump card? Meiyu was still a little worried about Wuming. However, Wuming shook his head. It's because I'm the strongest, so if it's a conspiracy of the Ainsworth family, it's better for me to deal with it than for you to deal with it. For the time being, let's not talk about the conspiracy of the Ainsworth family. Except for me, I'm afraid that all of you can't defeat the servant who has absorbed the magic power of a ley line for a month. I know, Brother Wuming. Looking at Meiyu, who was a little unwilling, but still nodded, Wuming smiled. Well, I know you're worried about me, but the role you play outside is also very important. Wuming rubbed Meiyu's hair and comforted her. I know, Brother Wuming, don't rub it anymore. My hair is going to become a chicken's nest. Meiyu protested. Looking at Meiyu, who had returned to her original state, Wuming nodded. Then, Wuming hugged Meiyu and put his forehead close to Meiyu. I will let you live a peaceful life. I swear by myself. Wuming said quite calmly. Well, I believe in you, Brother Wuming. The stars in the sky shone on the brother and sister for a long time. The next morning, Meiyu went to Ilya's house and went to school with Ilya. Rin, Tasaka, and Livia took half a day off and discussed with Wuming. After Wuming's inspection yesterday, although Livia's villa didn't collapse, there were no more bedrooms or guest rooms that could be used. Therefore, after Wuming coaxed Meiyu to sleep, Livia and the others went to the Shuo Suki residence through the teleportation door left by Wuming. In the living room of the Shuo Suki residence, Wuming, Rin, Tasaka, and Livia were sitting around a table. On the table was the parchment map that Rin Tasaka had used to detect the ley lines. The mirror world is deep underground. This is a bit troublesome, Livia said. Because it was underground, the mirror world must also be underground. In other words, the mirror world was full of soil, and in order to enter the mirror world, one must be in the corresponding position. In other words, if Wuming wanted to enter the mirror world, he must open up sufficient space in the underground mirror world. I want to directly dig down and then enter the mirror world to retrieve the rank cards. Wuming waved his hand and said casually, "Stop your weird thoughts. If you do that, the mirror world will only be a space filled with soil." Rin Tasaka said irritably, "First, you have to dig a tunnel, and then open up an underground space at the target location. Rin Tasaka then rubbed his chin and analyzed. Then, I'll call it Livia Salinta Eiderfeld. Livia pointed at herself arrogantly. Indeed, for a nouveau riche like you, opening up an underground space is nothing. Rin Tasaka looked at Livia with jealousy. There was no helping it. She was rich. Then, Wuming, have you really decided to enter the mirror world alone? Rin Tasaka and Livia looked at Wuming. Chapter 263. Wuming looked at Rin Inbin in surprise. It can't be helped. This is the best choice for now. Rin Inbin sighed. You're right. Then I wish you good luck. Trust me, even if I die, I won't really die. My real body isn't here. You have to survive. Livia looked at Wuming. I remember Mayo's birthday is coming up. When we celebrate with her, I don't think Mayu will be happy without you as her brother. During Mayo's stay at Livia's house, Livia accidentally found out about Mayo's birthday because she wanted to know more about Mayu and Wuming's past. I remember Mayu happily telling me that you celebrated her first birthday with her. The smile on her face was the brightest I've ever seen. You're right. It's almost July 20th. Wuming closed his eyes and recalled the 5 years he spent with Mayu. Every time Mayo's birthday came up, Wuming would throw a fun party for Mayu. Including Mayu, there were only 3 people. Wuming still remembered that Amiya Kiritsuga's death made Shiro Amiya sad for a few days. At the time, it was Mayo's birthday. Shiro Amiya forced a smile and celebrated Mayo's birthday with Wuming. In the end, Mayu saw Shiro Amiya's sadness and made a fool of herself. At the time, Mayo's emotions weren't very rich. But now, Mayu had changed a lot. However, because Wuming was also a problematic child, Mayo's emotions were still not at the level of a normal person even after a few years of school life. However, Wuming was lucky to have Rinpochian. If he hadn't met Mayu, if only Shiro Amiya was left to take care of Mayu after Amiya Kiritsuga's death, with Shiro Amiya's personality and Amiya Kiritsuga's teachings, perhaps Shiro Amiya would take care of Mayu like a prop. Well, Wuming felt that Shiro Amiya might not listen to Kiritsugu and take care of Mayu like a sister. That's all for now. Wuming opened his eyes. I'll leave the plan to build the channel to you guys. After speaking, Wuming left as if he didn't care about anything else. It's rare to have time to rest. Let Mayu rest more and enjoy this birthday. Soon, it was July 20th, which was right next to the summer vacation. During this period of time, Mayu and the others' primary school life was still as usual. They continued to play and learn every day. However, it seemed that they noticed a slight change in Wuming's and Mayo's mood. Elia and little Blackie didn't stay in their own house. Instead, they often stayed in Shua Yu's house. This made Sela complain to Wuming often. However, Alice Field smiled happily and said, Isn't that great? Mr. Wuming is a good person. On the other hand, Rin Inbin and Livia were wholeheartedly focused on building the channel. It was worth mentioning that perhaps because they were both holy grails, Mayu and Elia's birthdays were actually on the same day. As for little Blackie, who was Elia's other half, it was naturally the same birthday as them. This became a big party for the 3 of them to celebrate their birthdays at the same time. As Winterwood City wasn't far from the seaside, Wuming, Mayu, Elia, little Blackie, and the others discussed celebrating their birthdays by the seaside. It was worth mentioning that the quartet who often played with Elia and the others also agreed to celebrate their birthdays by the seaside. But Wuming felt that they were mainly going to the seaside to play. By the seaside, Wuming wore swimming trunks and revealed his muscular upper body. Looking at the few of them who had already started playing around, Wuming turned to Mayu beside him. Mayu, why aren't you playing with your friends? Mayu was wearing a fresh and cute swimsuit. Because she wasn't used to it, her face was slightly red. I want to play with Brother Wuming. It's good that you have such intentions. It's rare for you to have playmates, so hurry up and go play. Wuming nudged Mayu, indicating for Mayu to go over. Mayu looked at Elia and the others who were waving at her, then looked at Wuming and nodded with a smile. Okay, then Brother Wuming, see you later. With that, Mayu ran toward Elia. As expected, Mayu has become very close to a normal person. Wu-ming crossed his arms and nodded. I really couldn't tell that Lord Hyunryong is actually a siscon. A serious female voice came from behind Wu-ming. Wu-ming narrowed his eyes and turned his head to look behind him. What? I'm not allowed to be a siscon. I have a full understanding of modern human society. Wu-ming looked at Bizet with displeasure. Fully understanding modern society doesn't mean one has to be a siscon. This was something that Bizet didn't dare to say. No, I'm just casually saying it. Please don't take it to heart. At this moment, Bizet was dragging a large amount of luggage behind him. Ha! If you're a servant, then do your job well. Do you still want tips? Wu-ming said with a smile. However, now Wu-ming's smile was slightly broken. Yes, master. Bizet had an involuntary expression and bowed to Wu-ming. Now, Wu-ming was Bizet's master, and Bizet was a servant under Wu-ming. A few days after Bizet attacked Livia's house, Wu-ming went to Zelika's office and asked for a list of people. Then, Wu-ming visited these people one by one in a friendly manner overnight. After they promised with tears in their eyes, Wu-ming left after teaching them a lesson. Oh, right, these people also gifted Wu-ming a large amount of rare magic materials. Since they were gifted with great kindness, how could Wu-ming not accept it? And the reason why Bizet became like this was because of Livia. Livia's family, the Eiderfelts, used the destruction of the mansion as an excuse to pressure these forces. This caused these forces that were robbed clean by Wu-ming to be unable to explain themselves and could only sell Bizet. All of his credit cards were frozen, and all travel expenses were canceled. This was Bizet who was scammed by the higher-ups. Could it only be described as evil capitalism? Because Bizet lived in the Shuayu house before the order was issued, Wu-ming used the threat of eating my food, living in my house, using my money, to force Bizet to work in Wu-ming's house. Just like this, the penniless Bizet had no choice but to become Wu-ming's servant. And he was a servant who didn't have a salary and only received tips. It couldn't be helped. After all, Bizet was in debt to begin with. Then, go put down your luggage. We'll be spending the night here. As he spoke, Wu-ming took out a large amount of money. Take this money and use it as your activity fund. If there's any left, use it as your travel expenses. Yes, master, I'll go now. Bizet took the money. Although his facial expression didn't change much, his somewhat lively tone betrayed Bizet's unstable heart. Although Wu-ming's Shuayu house's wealth couldn't be compared to the long-established Eiderfeldt family, but in Winterwood City, it was still considered a big local. Naturally, it had this small amount of money. Wu-ming laid down on the beach chair that was already set up, basking in the sun with a face full of enjoyment. Sure enough, when it's time to enjoy. Summer vacation is the best. Chapter 264. In the end, Wu-ming didn't get to enjoy the sunlight for long before Little Black pulled him over. Big brother, it's rare for you to come to the beach. Don't just lie there. Come and play in the water. Yes, I know. Just like that. Wu-ming was pulled over by Little Black, and they played a game of beach volleyball. Wu-ming, Little Black, Mayu, Moriyama and Nanakuru were in one group. Ilya, Yujinza Ryuko, Kurihara Tarika, and Gue Mimi were in the other group. Of course, this was the result of drawing lots. Although Ilya was a bit angry that she couldn't be in the same group as Wu-ming and was even mocked by Little Black, Ilya still tried her best to play beach volleyball. Although the result was that Wu-ming's group won. After that, Kurihara Tarika gritted her teeth and tried to persuade her. All right, it's just a game anyway. Be happy. Today is your birthday, Ilya. That's right. Moriyama, Nanakuru agreed. Be happy, Ilya-chan. The gentle gay Mimi also tried to persuade her. Although Kurihara Tarika and the others said so, Ilya was still a bit unwilling. Hoo-hoo-hoo, I originally wanted to be in the same group as Big Brother. Not to mention that I couldn't be in the same group as Big Brother. I was even mocked by Little Black. After Wu-ming's group won, Little Black hugged Wu-ming and kissed him. Although I can't deny that Little Black is excited, I really can't accept it. Ilya looked at Little Black and Wu-ming who were playing with each other. She was very disappointed. Tarika looked at Ilya awkwardly. Brother complex is really scary. Speaking of brothers, Tarika thought of Ilya's brother, Shiro Amiya. Speaking of which, why didn't Ilya's brother come? My brothers seem to have said, it's not good for me to go to a birthday party full of little girls. Besides, Mr. Wooming will also go back, and I still have work to do in school. My brother used this reason to refuse to come to the beach. Oh, Ilya is really calm. I remember that Ilya seemed to like her brother in the past. Why did she change to like Mayo's brother now? Nanao Moriyama narrowed her eyes and said in a strange tone, You, what are you talking about? How could I like Big Brother? It could only be said that Ilya was still a child and did not know how to hide it all. Kurihara Kabana and the others could tell a glance. I don't think it's a good idea to interrogate Ilya like that, Kurihara Tora said, a little embarrassed. Yes. Gue Mimi, the lowly with a weak sense of existence, also nodded. By the way, aren't you guys interested? Mayu likes her brother a lot. Does Ilya want to steal Mayo's true love and act out a sad love story with Mayo's brother? Nanao Moriyama's words attracted Kurihara Tora's attention, and even Gue Mimi was a little moved. After all, children of this age were especially curious, and it was inevitable for them to have wild imaginations, including Ilya. Love story. Steal Big Brother from Mayu. How is that possible? Nakuri-chan, stop talking nonsense. Ilya was at a loss and shouted in panic. Does Ilya want brother wooming? This was Mayu, who was worried about Ilya's situation and left Wooming and Little Black's team to visit Ilya. Mayu, what are you talking about? I didn't mean that. Now, encountering the person she was talking about, Ilya was a little embarrassed at this moment. If it's Ilya, then it's not impossible. I can share brother wooming with you. Mayu considered for a moment and said as if she had made up her mind. Oh, what a surprise, Mayu-chan. He actually wants to share big brother wooming with Ilya. Ilya's little friends were all astonished. What? Did I miss something? This was Yujinza Ryuko, who had just returned from swimming in the sea after playing beach volleyball. There's nothing. Ilya pulled Mayu and ran away. Did I miss something? Yujinza Ryuko looked at Kurihara Tora and others innocently. Bang! Kurihara Tora punched Yujinza Ryuko's head. Yujinza Ryuko's eyes instantly turned into mosquito smoke, and then he instantly fell to the ground. Really, don't come and make trouble. In the distance, Ilya, who was pulling Mayu and running away, stopped at a large rock and gasped for breath. Ilya? Mayu didn't understand why Ilya pulled her and ran away. She tilted her head and looked at Ilya. That. Tora and others were just joking. Ilya laughed awkwardly. But Mayu still had a puzzled expression, because it's a little embarrassing. Although I like Big Brother, he's Mayo's big brother after all. Moreover, I liked my own big brother before, so this makes me seem a little unladylike. No, I didn't say that. Ilya explained in a panic. Mayu looked behind Ilya. Little Black walked out from behind the rock. Really, Ilya, do you have to be so timid? If you love, say it out loud. Little Black looked at Ilya speechlessly. Don't tell me you didn't. Little Black interrupted Ilya's words. Don't try to lie. I was one with you not long ago. I could say that I know everything that you know and think. Little Black was like a general that made Ilya speechless. Mayu looked at Ilya, who lowered her head and was even more puzzled. That's because Big Brother helped you many times in battle. He even helped you when you were in danger. However, because of this, you gradually fell in love with Big Brother, Little Black continued. This isn't something that's difficult to talk about. After all, it's very easy to conquer a person in such a situation. Ilya, we're still children. We might not have a clear understanding of things like love. You don't have to be so afraid and feel inferior just because you fell in love with Big Brother. I'm sorry, Mayu. Ilya lowered her head. She didn't dare to look at Mayu. However, Mayu only shook her head and held Mayu's hand. I understand Ilya's feelings very well. I remember the first time I met Brother Wooming. Wooming used his warm and powerful arms to save me. From that moment onwards, I felt that I couldn't leave Brother Wooming. Mayu recalled how Wooming had saved her in Frank's house. Mayu revealed a smile that Ilya and Little Black had never seen before. Seriously, what's wrong with you guys? Why aren't you guys here yet? Are you guys chatting about something interesting? At this moment, Wuming walked out from the other side of the rock. Huh, why is Big Brother here? Ilya changed the topic in a panic. Bizet brought watermelons. I wanted Little Black to call you guys over to eat. I didn't expect to be delayed for so long. Wuming pointed at the watermelons placed on the beach, and Yujinza and the others who had already started to enjoy them. I'm sorry, Big Brother. I forgot about this, because we were talking about something interesting. Little Black stuck out his tongue in embarrassment. That's nothing. I thought something had happened. All right, let's go eat the watermelons. Yes. Chapter 265. Time passed quickly while everyone was playing by the beach. By the time everyone reacted, it was almost late. Okay, everyone go to the house over there. Let's start the birthday party. Yes, the temperature at night by the sea in summer generally dropped a little, which added a trace of relief to the summer heat. As the sun gradually set and the moon slowly rose, Wuming and the others gathered at the dining table. There were countless delicacies on the table. Although they were not made by Wuming, the taste was top-notch. After all, this was made by the chef that Wuming spent a lot of money to hire. In the center of the table was a cake with ice cream and ice. It made people feel refreshed just by looking at it. What a sumptuous table of food. Ilya smiled happily. The changes in her mood, caused by what happened during the day, had almost recovered at this moment. Of course, this is my shop. Yujin's face was full of pride. That's right. By the way, because this shop was the most popular one around, Wuming also chose this shop. When they found out that this shop was the property of Yujin's family, Ilya and the others were quite surprised. By the way, the chef was hired by Wuming. In short, Yujinza provided the shop, and the delicacies were provided by others. Although Yujin's father was a little unwilling at first, when Wuming paid enough money, they happily agreed. Wuming couldn't help but sigh at the power of money again. Wuming remembered that Livia was able to make Bizet's higher-ups compromise. Well, even if Bizet's higher-ups didn't give in, Wuming wouldn't let Bizet go back. Not afraid of death, not afraid of pain, beautiful appearance, vigorous skills, and the power to create the backlight sword. She would do whatever the higher-ups told her to do. She was extremely obedient, pure, and so on. In Wuming's view, Bizet was simply a perfect servant. How could he let her go? Ahem, back to the topic. Before starting the meal, Wuming took out the birthday gifts prepared for the three of them. 3 football-sized boxes were tied with pink, blue, and red bows respectively. Thank you, Big Brother, Brother Wuming. The 3 of them appear to be a little emotional at this moment. Hey, Big Brother, can I open it now? Little Black looked at Wuming expectantly. Of course you can. You can all open it now. After all, it was prepared for you. Wuming waved his hand, indicating that Xiao He and the others could open it. The 3 of them couldn't wait to open the packaging and take out the contents of the box. There were 3 gift boxes that were slightly larger than the size of a palm. However, based on their exquisite appearance, they must be very valuable. I personally wrapped these 3 boxes, and the gifts inside were prepared by me without anyone else's permission. Open them and take a look. Big Brother, did you make it yourself? Ilya glanced at Wuming and carefully opened the gift box. What entered Ilya's eyes was an exquisite pendant necklace. Naturally, Xiao He and Meiyo's gifts were also pendant necklaces. The most important places on the 3 necklaces were decorated with beautiful gems. However, Ilya's pendant was mainly pink, Meiyo's pendant was mainly blue, and Xiao He's pendant was mainly red. The gems were also the same. Wow, so beautiful, Kurihara Narika said somewhat exaggeratedly from across the table. It's really beautiful, the quiet, lowly Gue Mimi said with an envious expression. I can only say that as expected of a member of a large family, this gift is very thoughtful. Moriyama Nantorai nodded. Although Wuming didn't stay in Winterwood City for a long time, Wuming used some legal methods to create a Shitsuki family in Winterwood City. To the outside world, it was announced that the Shitsuki residents had moved to Winterwood City. Many people knew about this, so Moriyama Nantorai wasn't worried about this matter. It's not for eating. Bad review. Bad review. Bang. Kurihara Narika instantly stepped on Jinzu Ryuko under the table. You idiot, Even if you're joking, you have to look at the atmosphere. After Ilya, Mayu, and Xiaohei took out the necklaces, they were all attracted by the beautiful necklaces. However, Xiaohei's eyes turned as she thought of something and looked at Wuming. Big brother, I want you to put on for me. Okay? Oh? Xiaohei is too cunning. I want it too. Ilya didn't want to be outdone and said. Wuming looked at Mayu, who also had an expectant expression, and then agreed. Okay, line up, one by one. After taking the necklace from Xiaohei's hand, Wuming wrapped it around Xiaohei's neck and easily put it on. I love you the most, big brother. Xiaohei instantly kissed Wuming's cheek and shouted happily. Xiaohei, what are you doing? Ilya said in a panic. This is my thank you gift for big brother. You can do the same. After all, no one said that you can't do this. Xiaohei looked at Ilya provocatively and smiled at her. Oof. Ilya walked in front of Wuming and handed the necklace to Wuming. Then, when Ilya was hesitating whether to kiss Wuming or not, Wuming put on Ilya's necklace for her. He left Ilya with a regretful look. Finally, it was Mayo's turn. Brother Wuming. Mayu looked at Wuming with a red face. Clearly, she was also wondering if she could be like Xiaohei. Why are you hesitating about this? As long as Mayu grows up healthily and happily, it will be the greatest thank you gift for me. With that, Wuming put on the necklace for Mayu. Thank you, brother Wuming, for always being with me. With that, Mayu gently approached Wuming's cheek and kissed Wuming's cheek. You even did it for Mayu. Ilya lay on the ground with a defeated expression. Wuming smiled and patted Mayu's head. This formed the warmest scene between siblings in this banquet. It must be said that after the three of them put on the necklace, there was a considerable change. They were originally beautiful people. When they were matched with beautiful accessories, it was no longer 1 + 1 = 2. Instead, it was an even greater number. The three of them are so beautiful. I must say that Mayo's big brother matched them quite well. I think they're very beautiful. Ilya, Mayu, and Xiaohei. As expected, food is a better gift. MHM. Bam, shut up. Don't make such jokes again. Ha ha ha. Accompanied by everyone's laughter, they started this sumptuous banquet. Wuming looked at Mayu, who was laughing happily, and smiled as well. This smile was especially warm. Chapter 266. Although the beach where Wuming and the others were was very close to Winterwood City, they still stayed in a hotel by the sea that night. After all, it was a birthday party, and Wuming certainly couldn't let the guests run around after the party. Therefore, Wuming, who had a small fortune, booked the entire hotel for everyone to play and stay. The next day, Wuming booked a car and sent everyone home. In the afternoon, Wuming went to Livia's house and asked about the establishment of the underground passage. Because we are only responsible for supporting you, the passage is almost completed. Originally, Livia wanted to build a battle fortress. At the very least, she could arrange the terrain in advance when she fought against the mirror world's servants transformed by cards. After all, the mirror world was just a reflection of this world. Except for the fact that there were no people and the color of the environment was slightly different, it was just like the real world. So soon? I thought we would have to wait a few more days. Wuming said with some surprise. We've dismantled all the places that were originally designed as traps and simply built an underground tunnel that can withstand high impact. If that's all, of course, it can be completed quickly. Rin in Osaka stroked her twin ponytails and explained to Wuming, then asked, by the way, when did you decide to retrieve the card, so we can be prepared? Yes, even if we don't go into the mirror world with you, we still have to be prepared. This card that has been absorbing for nearly 2 months may evolve into something we can't imagine. Even if you're a servant, Wuming, you can't be careless. Counting from the first job rank card, from Wuming's departure to Little Black's separation from Ilya's body, Bazette's attack on Livia's family, and Livia's secret relationship with Rin Inbin, Mio, Ilya, and Little Black's birthdays were almost 2 months away. In the worst-case scenario, this class card was a monster that had been absorbing leyline magic for 2 months. It had to be said that Rin in Osaka and Livia were very thoughtful. When Wuming dealt with the most difficult berserker, it took almost a whole day. Although Hercules was strengthened by the black mud, and Wuming was limited by the body of servant, it was enough to see how difficult it was to deal with a card transformed into a servant. Even if the ninth card was Assassin, after absorbing the magic power of the Earth Vein for nearly 2 months, its power would become extraordinary. In short, this class card was very difficult to deal with. Wuming thought for a moment, then looked at Rin, Inosaka, and Luvia. Let's do it tomorrow. Rin and Luvia looked at each other, then nodded to Wuming. After returning to the Suki house, Wuming saw Mayu waiting for him as soon as he entered the door. "Welcome back, Brother Wuming." Mayu smiled and looked straight at Wuming. Wuming froze for a moment, then walked in front of Mayu and touched her head. "I'm back, my lovely sister." Mayu, looking at Mayu's face, Wuming felt very relieved. "Brother Wuming, I made dinner. Let's eat together." Although Wuming often cooked at home, it didn't mean that Mayu didn't know how to cook. On the contrary, Mayu's cooking skills could be said to be deeply Wuming's inheritance. If Mayu worked as a chef in a restaurant, then the restaurant would definitely make a lot of money. Of course, Wuming certainly wouldn't allow it. A magical girl becoming a chef? Are you kidding me? Oh, then I must taste it well. I haven't eaten much during this time. The servant's body only needed magical power. Wuming usually ate out of habit. In the dining room of the Suki house, Wuming tasted Mayu's dishes. It's delicious. It seems that Mayu will grow up to be an excellent and beautiful bride. Bride? Can I really become a bride? At the moment, Mayu seemed a little uneasy. Wuming, who was very familiar with Mayu, naturally knew what Mayu was thinking. "Don't worry, Mayu. Your brother will protect you for a lifetime. Modestly speaking, if my main body is here, even the suppression will have to give in to me." Although she didn't quite understand what suppression was, since Brother Wuming said it must be a powerful character, Mayu thought, Brother Wuming has always been so powerful and has always been so reliable. Looking at Wuming's rather proud expression, Mayu, who was originally a little depressed, was also amused by Wuming. That's why Mayu just needs to be happy. Otherwise, as her older brother, I would be neglecting my duty. Looking at the short black hair that covered her blonde hair because of the use of magic, and then looking at Wuming's pale, golden pupils and Wuming's handsome face that didn't want to live for a long time, Mayu's beautiful face showed a beautiful smile. Now I feel that it's really a miracle to be able to be Brother Wuming's sister. Huh? Why do you suddenly say that? Wuming was somewhat puzzled. Nothing. Mayu looked at Wuming and continued to smile. Although he was still somewhat puzzled, but I'm also very happy, Mayu, to be able to be your sister, to be your brother. Although it seemed like nothing major happened between the two, Wuming knew that his relationship with Mayu had improved. The next night, Wuming, Mayu, Blackie, Ilya, Rin Enbin, and Luvia all gathered on the beach. Because Luvia and Rin Enbin detected that the location of the 9th class card was under the beach near the sea, Luvia directly let her construction team rent the nearby beach for construction. When Wuming, Mayu, and the others held a birthday party together, Wuming chose another beach, so Wuming and the others didn't let the construction dampen their spirits. By the way, Luvia's house that was destroyed by Bizet had already been repaired. Let's go. This should be the final battle, probably. Rin Enbin's final words at the end made the originally stressful atmosphere relax a little. Rin is right. After all, there are already 2 extra cards. We can't rule out the possibility of other cards. Livia explained. Don't worry. This is indeed the final battle. After this battle, I will tell you the origin of the class card, as well as the secrets of me and Mayu. We have been waiting for this for a long time. Big brother, when the time comes, you have to tell me properly. Blackie hugged Wuming's arm and acted coquettishly. Could it be that everyone already knows that Brother Wuming and I are hiding something from you? Mayu looked at everyone in disbelief, as if they should have known. After all, we have lived together for such a long time. Naturally, we have already noticed that Big Brother and Mayu are hiding something. Ilya touched her head a little shyly. Sorry, Ilya. Mayu looked at Ilya a little apologetically. It's okay, Mayu. Everyone has things that they don't want to talk about. Ilya. Mayu looked at Ilya rather emotionally. If you don't catch up, we are going to leave. Blackie's voice came from afar. Ilya and Mayu came back to their senses and realized that they were the only ones left. Wait for us. Chapter 267. Starting from the ground, there was a spiral staircase that led to the bottom. Tatata dash. Wuming and the others arrived at the bottom of the staircase. After arriving at the bottom, Wuming realized that the space at the bottom was extremely large. The spiral staircase was just a passageway. This is the battle location we designed. Rin Inbin spoke first. Silent wonder surveyed the area in front of him. It was a semicircular cave with a diameter of nearly 100 meters. At a glance, there was nothing in the way of obstructions. This was an area that was created to facilitate Silent Wonder's battle. The walls were made of high-density alloy with a large number of magic runes engraved on them. They were mainly used to support the ceiling and prevent the cave from collapsing during battle. Since they had considered the possibility of a battle, they didn't use high-grade flooring. It was just a simple metal plate. How is it? It should be enough for your battle, right? Livia asked Wuming. It's enough, but it'll take a while. Looking at Wu Ming, who was not in a hurry, everyone was puzzled. Is anyone else coming? It's almost midnight. Ren Inbin said. Although they could enter the mirror world at a time other than midnight, it was more stable to enter at midnight. Coming. After Wu Ming said that, there was the sound of hurried running. A figure rushed down the spiral staircase and jumped in front of Wu Ming. I'm not late, am I? Bizette, why are you here? Everyone was shocked. That's right. The person who came was Bizette in a men's suit. Is this your idea, Wu Ming? Livia looked at Wu Ming in surprise. Yes. After all, Bizette's combat power is not to be underestimated. With her and you guys here, I can rest assured. For some reason, Wu Ming felt uneasy. Therefore, Wu Ming called Bizette, who was a servant, over. Is she really okay? After all, she was our enemy not long ago. Rin Inbin whispered into Wu Ming's ear. Don't worry. Since I've already become master servant, I'll definitely abide by the rules. Bizette vowed solemnly, speaking with a rather imposing manner. Otherwise, master will deduct my tips again. I don't have a salary to begin with, so I can only rely on tips to get the funds to go home. Today, I almost blew up the kitchen. Not only did I not get my tips, but my working hours were also extended. In the end, I was even locked up to reflect on myself. Bazet said gloomily. This was also the reason why Bizette didn't appear when Mayu and Wu Ming were having dinner together. This is really hard work. Ilya laughed awkwardly. All in all, with Bizette here, your safety can be assured. Even if I have to risk my life, I will definitely protect your lives and get the tip. If you want to hurt you, you'll have to step over my life first. Bizette's face was full of I'm burning up. I think you're just doing it for the tip. Ilya looked at the burning Bizette speechlessly. Looking at the group that wasn't nervous at all, Wu Ming smiled. Brother Wu Ming. At this moment, Mayu walked in front of Wu Ming. You must come back safely. Wu Ming looked at Mayu's eyes. The determination and trust in her eyes were conveyed to Wu Ming. I definitely will. I haven't eaten enough of the food Mayu cooked for me. Yo, FGLA stood up. Then I'll be right back. Wu Ming walked to the center of the empty space underground and waved his hand with a smile. Teleportation begins. With Colos's voice, the magic circle wrapped Wu Ming, and Wu Ming disappeared. Wu Ming opened his eyes that were closed because of the white light at the moment of teleportation. He was moving toward the mirror world, surrounded by a strange space. A virtual space? Wu Ming said. This was a space that existed on the reverse side of the world, and the mirror world was also on the reverse side of the world, a space that was rooted above the virtual space. At this time, Wu Ming heard a song, but the sound was quite sad. The moment Wu Ming heard the song, he felt that his body's function had declined. According to the attributes of a servant, all 6 attributes had declined by 1 level. His strength, durability, and agility, which were originally grade C, had all been reduced to grade D. Other than his mana, which was still grade X, even his luck and noble phantasm had been reduced by a grade, from grade A and A+ to grade B and B+ respectively. Wu Ming looked at a certain place through mana perception. Unfortunately, Wu Ming only vaguely saw a figure with big horns before he was teleported away. Wu Ming appeared in the underground cave's mirror world. Just now, who was that? Wu Ming thought about the figure he saw just now. With just a song, Wu Ming's attributes were reduced. Although he was a servant, being able to reduce Wu Ming's attributes showed how powerful he was. If my main body was here, I wouldn't be afraid of that guy. Unfortunately, I'm still sleeping inside my origin, Wu Ming said regretfully. After all, regardless of whether it was an enemy or an unknown thing, Wu Ming was interested in that figure. However, things seem to be a little bad now. Wu Ming looked at the huge magic fog that was still spinning in the center of the cave, and a berserker's roar came from it. This is a little bad. After all, facing a powerful enemy, Wu Ming's attributes were reduced. No matter how one looked at it, Wu Ming was at a disadvantage. Such a huge magic fog that can be used as both a spear and a shield. How much magic did this guy absorb? Wu Ming frowned. Although it was still not as powerful as Wu Ming's magic, this magic fog was indeed quite large. I hope he wasn't stained by the strange black mud. While Wu Ming was talking, the card servant in the magic fog launched an attack. Swish! 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 5 or 6 iron whips formed by the magic fog viciously lashed at Wu Ming. Boom! The floor was smashed. Wu Ming jumped up, floated in the air, and then took out a silver holy sword from the golden ripples that appeared beside him. I'll accept the greeting gift. Now it's my gift to you. Stars hidden in the world, holy sword that annihilates all evils. There's no need to cover your light anymore, shine. The broken holy sword turned into a silver dragon-shaped light beam and rushed toward the magic fog that was constantly spinning. Silver meteor. Chapter 268. A violent explosion appeared in front of Wu Ming, and a gust of wind engulfed Wu Ming. His clothes fluttered in the wind. The mana fog dispersed, but what entered Wu Ming's eyes was a huge shield. This sense of déjà vu really makes one feel somewhat helpless. This scene caused Wu Ming to recall the scene when he was fighting Romo. Back then, Wu Ming had also fired a beam of light, but it was blocked by Rama's Aegis shield. However, it wasn't the Aegis shield, but a shield that Wu Ming didn't recognize. A noble artifact. After all, only a relic could block Wu Ming's silver meteor. At this moment, the huge shield began to crack. Then, it shattered and turned into bits of black light before disappearing. After the shield shattered, the figure behind the shield was revealed. This figure was pitch black. Other than its blood-red eyes and the blue lines on its cheeks, the rest of its body was completely black. Let's call him Black Follower for now. It seemed that the Black Follower was furious because his shield was broken. He waved his hands, and countless black ripples appeared on the ground beside him. This move, could it be? Wu Ming looked at this very familiar scene and felt a little excited for a moment. However, the Black Follower would not let go of any opportunity to kill the enemy. Countless swords, spears, swords, and halberds emerged from the black ripples. Black Follower turned his hand, and countless weapons were pointed at Wu Ming. The weapons that were summoned by Black Follower were all noble relics. Swish, swish, swish. Countless relics shot towards Wu Ming, but Wu Ming did not panic at all. He did not even try to dodge. Then, a series of explosions occurred at Wu Ming's location. Boom, boom, boom. After the explosion, smoke and dust covered the place where Wu Ming was standing. As expected, you are the hero king. Gilgamesh, my disciple. Wu Ming's voice came from the dust cloud. Black Follower was slightly stunned when he heard someone calling his name. When the dust settled, Wu Ming held a shield in his hand. It was the Aegis shield that Romo had used in the previous battle, the Aegis shield. Behind Wu Ming, the Manchala formation appeared. Then, Wu Ming put the shield back into the formation, and the formation disappeared. That's right, this was the materialization of the Sword of Salvation held by the last king, the Manchala formation, which was comparable to the Gate of Babylon. After successfully becoming the hero and becoming the last king, Wu Ming thought more than once that since the Sword of Salvation was the weapon of the last king, could Wu Ming, who had become the last king, use the Manchala formation and the countless god relics in it? The answer was yes. Wu Ming had successfully materialized the Sword of Salvation and formed the Manchala formation. He had also taken out the god relics in it and used them. Now, Wu Ming had turned the tables on Black Follower. But shouldn't you be with Angelica, Ainsworth? Why are you here? That was right. Angelica, who fought Wu Ming in the parallel world, had undoubtedly used Gilgamesh's card. The Gate of Babylon wasn't something that anyone could use. Only Gilgamesh, the king of Babylon, could possess this precious artifact. Just when Wu Ming was thinking, Black Gilgamesh summoned countless relics from the black ripples again. Forget it. I'm the idiot who's talking to you. No matter what, you're just a force without consciousness now. As Wu Ming spoke, the Manchala formation appeared behind him again. Ah! Black Gil roared and shot countless relics at Wu Ming. Meanwhile, Wu Ming simply waved his hand, and countless god relics shot at Black Gil. Bang! 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 Black Gil's relics collided with Wu Ming's god relics, and the explosions canceled each other out. Oh! Black Gil was enraged, perhaps seeing that the technique that he was proud of did not work. Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a gust of wind. A black ripple appeared in Hegel's hand, and a strange weapon emerged from it. It was a weapon that looked more like a staff than a sword. Is that the Guile Separation Sword? Wu Ming recognized the weapon that was accompanied by a raging red hurricane as soon as it appeared. After all, Wu Ming had used it before, and there was a weapon similar to the Guile Separation Sword in the Manchala formation. However, Wu Ming was not going to use the Guile Separation Sword from the alternate world. That was because Xiao-En, as Wu Ming commanded, countless chains shot out from the golden ripples behind Wu Ming. Their target was Black Gil, who was holding the Guile Separation Sword. Ah! Black Gil seemed to have sensed the danger as well. He immediately summoned the black magical mist around him to block the chains and set up many shield relics in the magical mist. However, how could the improved version of Enkidu, which had both offense and defense, be blocked by the magical mist? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The golden chains pierced through the magical mist, bypassed the shields, and instantly wrapped around Black Gil. The red hurricane on the Guile Separation Sword that Black Gil was holding disappeared, and the three rotating blades stopped spinning. Even a magical mist around Black Gil disappeared. This was the powerful power of the Silent Earth Lock, Enkidu, the binding energy. The magic fog had been forced back into Hegel's body. The magic fog was formed by a class card, so it was natural for it to leak out when there was too much magic in the body. Naturally, it could be taken back. Ah! Black Gil roared furiously when he felt that he was restricted. Sure enough, it's just a force. If he's really here, how could he be so easily restrained by Enkidu? Wu Ming shook his head and crossed his arms in regret. Checkmate. Wu Ming flew down from the sky and walked to the restrained Black Gil. Wu Ming extended his hand and infused it with magical power. He instantly inserted it into Black Gil's heart and grabbed a card. It was the class card of the Archer class card. However, Wu Ming discovered a trace of a problem. He could not take out a class card. Hegel, who had been furious, instantly changed his expression. He chuckled as if his plan had worked. Then, Wu Ming felt that his hand was corroding. Releasing the class card, Wu Ming instantly pulled his hand out. Looking at his right hand that was still emitting black smoke, Wu Ming could not help but look at Black Gil's heart. I opened a big hole there, and there was some black substance inside the hole. However, the black substance was different from the black substance on Black Gil's surface. It was the black mud that had the aura of the Dragon of Origin. TSK. Trouble. Chapter 269. Outside the mirror world, Rin and Osaka and Livia closed their eyes and crossed their arms as they waited quietly. Bizet, on the other hand, stood in the same spot without moving an inch. Mei Yu, on the other hand, looked worriedly at the place where Wu Ming disappeared. As for Ilya, Why hasn't Big Brother come out yet? Ilya kept walking and started complaining. Little Black, who was sitting on the steps at the entrance, looked at Ilya with disdain. That's a guy who has absorbed the Earth Vein's magic power for almost 2 months. Even if it's Big Brother, it'll be troublesome. Then Little Black smiled and waved his hand. But with Big Brother's strength, he'll definitely be able to deal with it. But I'm very worried. I can't do anything about it. Ilya drooped her little head and said dejectedly, "It's okay. It's normal for Ilya to be worried about Brother Wooming. You don't have to feel ashamed about it." Mayu, who was looking at the spot where Wooming disappeared, walked up to Ilya and patted her little head. It seemed like Ilya had never been patted on the head by Mayu before and was unable to get used to it. "What's wrong? Ilya, did I go overboard?" Mayu had a worried look on her face. "That's not it. It's just that I'm not used to it." Speaking of which, Mayu seems to be very familiar with it. Ilya patted her head with a smile. This is because Brother Wooming often patted my head at home. I learned it unknowingly," Mayu said embarrassedly as her cheeks reddened. Mayu can enjoy Big Brother's patting every day. I'm so envious." Ilya heard and cried out enviously. "Ilya, don't be like this. I'm so shy." Wooming pushed Ilya with a red face. And just as Ilya was about to say something, the space around her shattered. Kacha! A red hurricane shot out from the broken space. What is this?" Ilya asked in surprise. Then, a pitch-black face appeared in the shattered space. What is this?" Ilya was clearly shocked. "Ilya, Mayu, hurry back!" Rin Inbin yelled anxiously. "He's not someone you could deal with," Livia shouted. Bazette, on the other hand, was the first to rush over. Mayu stared blankly at Black Gil, who was not far away. She fell into an overwhelming silence. Mayu clearly knew that this enemy was Wooming's opponent in the mirror world. Since the enemy had broken through space and came out, then Wooming had already... Brother Wooming, Bazette raised his fist, and Loon runes appeared on his fist. Bazette's strengthened fist heavily smashed into Black Gil's face. But bang! Bazette was sent flying by the impact. Hee. Black Gil laughed with a twisted expression, and a dense black magic fog surrounded him. "This is high-density magic fog," Bazette exclaimed in surprise. "This scale is much greater than Saber's." Rin Inbin and Livia were also surprised. "Ilya, let's go." Mayu, who was awakened by Bazette's attack, instantly pulled Ilya and flew toward Rin Inbin and Livia. "Hurry! Ilya, you take me. Mayu, take Livia. Let's quickly retreat from here," Rin Inbin said. "But, Big Brother, he crack." Space shattered, and an exit that allowed Black Gil to pass through appeared. Black Gil laughed loudly. Whoosh bang! A black arrow hit Black Gil, and the resulting explosion covered Black Gil's figure. "Little Black." Ilya looked at Little Black. "What are you doing? Hurry up and retreat." Little Black maintained his bow and arrow posture, and projected another bow and arrow. "But Big Brother, he's still," Ilya said worriedly. "Big Brother is very powerful. He'll be fine. On the other hand, if Big Brother comes out of the mirror world and finds out that we're dead, then Big Brother will be very sad. Ilya, let's retreat." At this moment, Mayu's voice came from beside Ilya. "Mayu, why?" Ilya didn't understand why Mayu also chose to retreat and give up on Wooming. "Brother Wooming and I have an agreement. Brother Wooming said that he will definitely return safely from the mirror world. I believe in Brother Wooming." Seeing Mayu's firm gaze, Ilya was dazed for a moment. Then, she smiled and nodded heavily. "Okay, I understand. Let's go, Ruby. Wow. You're all pumped up." Whoosh. Boom. Blackie shot another arrow at Hegel. Black Gil was enraged by Little Black's behavior. "Hurry up and come over. I'll cover you." Little Black, who was already at the entrance, naturally didn't need to take the lead. Thus, she needed to cover the others. Then, Ilya carried Rin Inbin while Mayu carried Livia. The two of them flew toward the entrance of the passage. Bazette, who originally wanted to continue attacking, also began to retreat after Rin Inbin said, The opponent has a noble artifact that can break through space. If you want to die, we won't stop you. It can only be said that Bizet was a little silly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Little Black shot a few more arrows at Black Gil. Bang! Boom! However, Black Gil's magical mist shattered all of Little Black's arrows. Ah! Black Gil roared. Black ripples appeared around him, and countless noble artifacts appeared. Ah! Black Gil roared again, and countless noble artifacts shot toward Little Black. Little Black, run! Ilya and the others had already arrived at the center of the passage, so they hurriedly called for Little Black, who was still fighting Black Gil and covering them, to retreat. Little Black jumped lightly and grabbed the handrail of the stairs in the passage. Boom, 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 boom. Countless noble artifacts that lost their target bombarded the wall and the ceiling began to shake. Boom, boom. Not good. Big Brother hasn't come out yet. Ilya exclaimed when she saw the underground cave began to collapse. It's too late. The collapse of the cave can only delay the Black Servant's footsteps. We must quickly leave the passage and return to the surface. Otherwise, it's likely that we will be killed in this passage. Rin said calmly. Ilya and the others who were no longer emotional looked at each other, nodded, and began to fly toward the surface. At this moment, a sound like an airplane taking off came from the underground. Chapter 270. This is Rin in Osaka, and the others were shocked. What they saw was a pitch-black aircraft that looked like a bird. If Wuming was here, he would definitely recognize this. Vimana, even in Gilgamesh's treasure trove, was one of Gilgamesh's favorite treasures. Vimla's entire body was made of gold and emeralds. It could roam freely in the sky and the sea. Not only was the Vimosa equipped with various high-level relics, but it was also equipped with ancient nuclear warheads. Most importantly, the Vimosa was powered by the sun crystal that used mercury as fuel to generate solar energy. It could move at a high speed, regardless of the laws of physics. Regardless of whether it was moving vertically, descending vertically, moving left and right, or flying diagonally, the Vimosa could do all of them. Moreover, it could ensure that the passengers were safe and sound. However, because the servant was in the dark state, all of Gilgamesh's noble phantoms, including Vimana, had turned black. The black bird moved towards the ground through the passageway, and all the stairs in the passageway were destroyed. Not good. Everyone run. Rin Inbin shouted in panic. Even if Rin in Osaka hadn't said anything, even if Big Sister Rin didn't say anything, we would still leave. Ilya hugged Rin Inbin and flew out of the tunnel, crashing to the ground. Mayu, Livia, Little Black, and Bizet also came out of the tunnel at the same time as Vimor flew out. Swish! Waymona flew up vertically like a giant bird. Soon after, the originally upright Vimona flattened out, and the pitch-black Gilgamesh sat steadily on the open-air seat of the Vimona. With a twisted laugh, he drove the Vimona away. Ah! Everyone who had escaped the calamity sat weakly on the ground. Ilya, Mayu, and Blackie looked at the collapsed tunnel with sorrow. They didn't say anything, only silence. Not good. That fellow is heading towards the city. Rin Tobasaka immediately recognized Vimona's movements and exclaimed in a panic. Let's hurry and stop him. Ilya stood up with a look of grief and indignation. Suddenly, a rather bored female voice sounded. I didn't expect the first-rate magician from the clock tower to be so useless. And you bunch of useless children. A silver-haired girl with golden eyes arrived in front of Rin Inbin and the others. Miss Karen. Because Vimor seemed to be looking for something and didn't attack the city, Ilya and the others weren't in a hurry. The main point was that Karen, who seemed to be closely related to the Holy Church, had already used a spell to dispel and make people sleep. There were no longer any humans in the city. Rin in Osaka and Livia both blushed when they realized this. It could be said that the two of them had failed in their duties for not preparing for this in advance. After a short conversation with the girl named Karen, Ilya, and the others left the collapsed passage and temporarily found a place to rest, preparing to stop the Dark Gilgamesh. After Karen's explanation, everyone learned a lot of things, including the secrets of Wuming and Mayu, as well as what the Dark Gilgamesh was looking for. The Holy Grail, sitting on a chair outside the small wooden house, Ilya said in confusion. After all, she was born to be the little Holy Grail. What are you talking about? The little Holy Grail is obviously me. Ilya, you can just be a primary school student. Little Black sat beside Ilya and comforted her, although the way he comforted her was a little unusual. Ah, you're right. Thank you, Little Black. Ilya looked at Little Black with a face full of smiles. Oomph. Little Black turned his head away proudly. Speaking of which, Mayu is suffering the most right now, right? Ilya looked at Mayu, who was staring at the moon in a daze. Yes, we don't know if Big Brother is dead or alive. Compared to Mayu, who is Big Brother's younger sister, the two of us are doing better. Of course, it didn't mean that Ilya and Little Black weren't worried about Wuming. It was just that Mayu, who had lived with Wuming for almost all of her life, must be feeling very uncomfortable now that she didn't know if her brother was dead or alive. Don't worry, Wuming is the great sage of the Uruk. He's a legendary fantasy breed that even Kanzaki couldn't destroy. How could he be killed so easily? Livia's voice sounded. That's right. He's the teacher of the most ancient king. As the saying goes, the older you are, the wiser you are. If he dies so easily, it would be too degrading. Rin Inosaka's voice followed. Rin Inosaka and Livia were standing behind Ilya and Little Black without them noticing. Ah, you scare me. Really, Sister Rin and Sister Livia, why didn't you make any sound when you walked? Ilya was shocked. On the other hand, Little Black seemed to have noticed the two of them long ago and didn't show much panic. You're paying too much attention to Mayu. Look at Little Black and you're fine, Rin Inosaka complained. Is Mayu still worried about Wuming? Livia looked at Mayu with some heartache. Although Mayu had only stayed in her house temporarily, Livia had already treated Mayu as her younger sister. Big Brother, are you really all right? Ilya's voice became gloomy once again when this topic was brought up. You just need to believe in him, Rin Inosaka said confidently. Although it seemed like Rin Inosaka and Livia weren't worried about Wuming's safety, they actually believed in Wuming. They believed that he was a heroic spirit who had saved them. He was a high-level existence, but he was still their equal partner. At that moment, Mayu moved. Mayu turned around and jogged to the small wooden hut where everyone was gathered. That aircraft is making a big move. Mayu pointed at Vimona, who was moving at full speed toward Yuzong Mountain. It really is Yuzong Mountain. Let's go. Through the information provided by Karen and the judgment of Rin Inosaka and the others, everyone had more or less guessed that Dark Gilgamesh's target was the Great Holy Grail. Let's go. Yeah, everyone replied in unison. Moments after everyone left, Karen and Bizet appeared. Aren't you going? Karen said rather uninterestedly. With him here, I'm not needed, Bizet said in confusion. Are you so sure that he's still alive? Not sure, but a fact. As if to prove Bizet's words, a ray of light suddenly appeared at the entrance of the collapsed tunnel. Seeing this ray of light, Karen and Bizet didn't say anything. After the ray of light disappeared, a meteor flew toward Yuzong Mountain. Damn it, I was careless and fell into his trap, Wuming said rather angrily. Just you wait, my cute disciple. Chapter 271. Near the foot of Yuanzong Mountain. Since Ilya and the others had already guessed the destination of the Dark Gilgamesh, they rested in a small wooden hut near Yuanzong Mountain. Therefore, they still neglected Vimona's full speed. As a result, Vimona arrived at Yuanzong Mountain ahead of time. Not far from Yuanzong Mountain. We should have set off for Yuanzong Mountain without stopping, Rin Inosaka complained. But if that's the case, Ilya and the others will also exhaust their stamina, Livia said. I have a question. Even if we catch up with that airship, how are we going to stop it? Ilya raised her small hand. Sure enough, we only planned to stop the Dark Servant first, but we didn't plan how to defeat him. Ilya's small face drooped. We can use Dream Summon install. Mayu said, Dream Summon install. Ilya and the others were puzzled. With the help of a class card, transform yourself into a servant and obtain the power of a heroic spirit. That's how I came to be, Blackie said. But it seems that we're too late now. Ilya pointed at Vamona's light that descended, not knowing what to do. Vamona's ancient nuclear warhead was fired. Boom! A louder roar than before and a bright light that seemed to illuminate the world made Ilya and the others unable to open their eyes and temporarily lose their hearing. It couldn't be helped. Ilya and the others were not far from Yuanzhong Mountain. But fortunately, Ilya and the others didn't arrive at Yuanzhong Mountain ahead of time. Otherwise, they would have died without a complete corpse. All my ears hurt. With the ruby's healing effect, Ilya quickly recovered. Mio was no exception. Rin and Osaka and Livia had already fainted. As for Blackie, although he still felt uncomfortable, he was still a servant after all. Blackie's recovery was still very strong. By the way, Wu Ming had implanted the magic power generator he made for Xiaohei in the form of an artificial magic circuit into Xiaohei's body. In other words, Xiaohei would no longer disappear due to exhaustion of magic power. What should we do? We must have gone to look for the Holy Grail, Ilya said anxiously. Ilya, don't worry. Mayo's voice suddenly choked up. Why are you crying, Mayu? Xiaohei and Ilya asked in surprise. Mayu didn't answer Ilya and Little Black's question. Instead, she pointed at the meteor streaking across the sky. Ilya, who had ruby vision, and Xiaohei, who had the body of a servant, saw the meteor clearly. It's Big Brother. Xiaohei and Ilya's voices were filled with joy. Like Mayu, the two of them couldn't help but shed tears. Brother Wuming, that's great. Brother Wuming, you didn't lie to me. You really left the mirror world safely. Mayu was crying tears of joy as she spoke intermittently. Look, Big Brother has become a giant. Boom! The ancient nuclear warhead was detonated in Yuanzhong Mountain. Wuming looked at Mayu and others who were affected. Wuming instantly became furious. Fear the one with wings. Evil people and powerful people are all afraid of me who have wings. My wings will bring you a curse. Evil people can't hit me. I am the strongest, and I have all the victory in my hands. Be it human or demon, I am a person who can defeat all enemies, and I will defeat any enemy that stands in my way. Giants with unparalleled divine power, please give me your aid. With the release of Phoenix's soul, Wuming gained speed beyond anything. With the release of Giant, Wuming's magical power formed a huge giant. Come down! Wuming instantly came to the head of Dark Gilgamesh, who had released the ancient nuclear warhead and was ready to accept the great Holy Grail. He punched him hard and hammered him to the ground. Wuming's punch directly shattered Vamona, then turned into a little black light and disappeared. Ugh! Dark Gilgamesh's voice came from the huge golden palm. Gurgle, gurgle. A large amount of black mud appeared under the giant's golden palm. Whoosh! Wuming's golden palm began to smoke, and the black mud began to corrode the golden palm. Wuming controlled the giant to raise its palm and step back slightly. Sure enough, this black mud has a strong restraining effect on me. Wuming frowned and looked at the black mud that kept pouring out of Dark Gilgamesh's body. What kind of strong restraining effect was this? For example, if the black mud was left on the ground, it wouldn't have any effect on the flowers and trees on the ground. However, as long as it came into contact with silent noise, the black mud would explode like a mixture of raw materials, full of corrosiveness. When Wuming found the black mud in Dark Gilgamesh's body in the mirror world, the black mud took the opportunity to attach to Enkidu. With Wuming's attribute, the black mud naturally corroded Enkidu. As Enkidu was naturally injured. Wuming hurriedly lifted Enkidu's Enkidu and released Dark Gilgamesh. As a result, the black mud, as if found a breakthrough point, emerged from Dark Gilgamesh's heart and surrounded Wuming. Because the distance was too close, Wuming was instantly swallowed by the black mud. After that, Dark Gilgamesh had lost his opponent, so he took out the Gwaili sword and broke through the mirror realm. As for Wuming, it could only be said that Wuming was indeed an existence that countered the black mud. Wuming released the aura of his origin dragon. Although the black mud swarmed toward him like maggots, the lack of replenishment allowed the black mud to be eliminated by the aura of his origin dragon. Although he still couldn't understand why the black mud produced from the origin dragon could restrain Wuming and why the aura of the origin dragon could restrain the black mud, Wuming knew that if he mixed his moves with the aura of the origin dragon, the black mud would be severely damaged. The next time my main body wakes up, I should be able to find out the truth, Wuming thought. Ah! The black mud began to change. Countless black mud began to gather together and slowly fuse with dark Gilgamesh as the center. Do you think I'll let you have your way? For victory, come to me quickly. Immortal Sun, please grant me a shining steed. Spirited steed, bring me the light wheel that symbolizes your master. The sun descended on Winterwood City, which was originally dark. Chapter 272. Neigh. Accompanied by a loud neigh, a handsome white horse descended from the sky with the sun on its back. Boom! That night, the entire Yuanzhong Mountain disappeared. House of Einstein Barons. Sela was sitting at the dining table, eating in small bites, while the TV was playing the news. Because a meteorite suddenly fell on Yuanzhong Mountain last night, it caused the natural trachea buried in Yuanzhong Mountain to explode. It's terrible, a meteorite suddenly fell to the ground. And is there natural gas in Yuanzhong Mountain? Sela thought. By the way, when did I fall asleep last night? I don't remember. Well, isn't this good? Sela must be so tired that she doesn't even know when she fell asleep. Alice Field sat next to Sela, eating and looking at Sela with a smile. Is that so? Yes, Sela was too tired. She accidentally fell asleep. She should go to bed early in the future, Lizette complained. You're the one who often falls asleep, Sela said helplessly. Mama, Alice Field smiled, even more happily. By the way, Mayim, do you really not need to call Ilya and the others? They had too much fun last night. Let them have a good sleep, Shoayu residents. Mayu was sleeping in a room, while Wuming and Bizette were enjoying breakfast. Speaking of which, Master made quite a ruckus last night. Suddenly, Bizette opened his mouth. Last night, Wuming directly used double authority and added a lot of his aura to summon the white horse, which directly melted Yuanzhong Mountain, including the great holy grail at the bottom of Yuanzhong Mountain and the black mud that formed the giant. Wuming's move directly burned the black mud. After using double authority, Wuming came to Mayu and the others in time to protect them. Wuming still remembered how miserably Ilya, Mayu, and Little Black had cried back then. Wuming comforted them for a while before they stopped crying. According to Xiaohei, this was the price Wuming had to pay for deceiving them. This made Wuming smile bitterly. Moreover, Wuming also promised to take the three of them to the amusement park as compensation. Not knowing whether to laugh or cry, Wuming shook his head and came back to his senses. I don't want to either, but if we continue to let him do as he pleases, who knows what will happen. Then, a golden ripple appeared behind Wuming, and a young figure bound by Enkidu fell out. Plop! Ouch, teacher! Can't you be gentler? I'm your favorite disciple. A childish voice entered Wuming's ears. Wuming looked at the figure. He had a small body, short golden hair, red eyes, and a naked body. If it wasn't for Enkidu covering his 3 points, Wuming definitely wouldn't have let him out. You still have the nerve to say that. You're clearly the hero king, yet you were corroded by a mere black mud. You should be thankful that I didn't send you back to the martyr's palace. Wumless gave the figure a ruthless slap. That's right, that was the young hero king, and it was not the female version that Wuming knew. The hero king in this world was the male version. You can't blame me for this, teacher. The black mud has your breath, so I treated it as an ally. Young Gil looked at Wuming with a smile. It seemed like Wuming used a lot of force, but Wuming didn't use much force. He only gently knocked on young Gil's head. Young Gil naturally knew that Wuming wasn't this world's Hyunryong. However, due to the suppression, when Wuming came to a parallel world, The identity of that world's wombing would be attached to wombing. If one had to say something, it would be that the suppression left a seat for wombing in every parallel world. As long as he came, that seat would be taken by wombing, and wombing would leave his mark in history. Young Gil knew wombing because of this. Although wombing had never seen the male version of young Gil, the female version of Gilgamesh that wombing knew was almost exactly the same as the male version of young Gil. Even their temperaments and personalities were the same. Seriously, put on your clothes and come over for dinner. Wombing rubbed his forehead helplessly. Then he took out a set of Uruk clothes from his relic and threw it to young Gil. The moment before the clothes touched young Gil, the heaven lock, Enkidu, was completely retracted by wombing. Young Gil didn't care about Bazette's presence. He quickly put on his clothes and sat next to wombing. I didn't expect you to save Enkidu in another world, Sensei, young Gil said with a smile. Although wombing's Enkidu had changed a lot, as a close friend, young Gil could still recognize Enkidu. When Enkidu bound young Gil, Enkidu and young Gil communicated. Even if they were close friends in a parallel world, that wouldn't change. Naturally, the two of them had a happy conversation. It's not considered saving. At that time, I escaped from the Uruk with my tail between my legs, wombing said casually. Ha ha, that's because Sensei was restricted by the era. If you released your body, those gods would have surrendered to you a long time ago. Young Gil laughed as if he had heard a happy story. The gods all live in a higher dimension. In other words, they are already dead, wombing said to young Gil as he drank a mouthful of porridge. Even if they died 10,000 times, it wouldn't be enough, Sensei, young Gil said with a smile. The reason young Gil said this was naturally because of Enkidu. Enkidu, who was saved by wombing, stimulated young Gil and reminded him of the dead Enkidu of this world. Children shouldn't always talk about death. Wombing flicked young Gil's forehead. Sigh. Sensei is so nice to children. I thought Sensei had become a lolicon. Young Gil patted his chest and sighed in relief. Your personality is still so bad. I really don't know what you learned from me. Wombing was a little speechless. I am the ancient king, the hero king Gilgamesh. What I learned from Sensei is naturally the basic principles of being a king. Don't pour dirty water on me. I don't remember teaching you to have a bad personality. Wombing refuted young Gil's words with a little disdain. Sigh, why are you like this, Sensei? After I went to the West, I also had a disciple there. She was much better than you. Wombing was talking about Artoria. Oh, someone who can be accepted as a disciple by Sensei. Then I have to get to know her. Young Gil's eyes were full of interesting charm. Bang! Wombing gave young Gil another flick. Well, this time it was a hard flick. Sensei, it hurts. Chapter 273. Wombing continued to eat as if nothing had happened. You've obviously become smaller, but you're still so uncute, just like the grown-up you. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. I also hate the grown-up me. Wouldn't it be better to be gentler? Although young Gil said so, Wombing knew that whether it was young Gil or the grown-up Gilgamesh, their personalities were the same. It was just that young Gil was the two-faced type. He looked good, but in fact, he was full of evil interests. Now that I've destroyed the tactics of the Great Holy Grail, do you still want to pursue the Great Holy Grail? Wombing asked without turning his head. Young Gil took a bite of Wombing's food and showed an expression of enjoyment. Since the small Holy Grail is teachers, then I can only give it up. Young Gil smiled. That's suspicious. Wombing stared at young Gil and said suspiciously, You appeared in the young version and not the grown-up version because someone used your other class card, right? Wombing suddenly said, Well, as expected of teacher. That's right. Now, most of my noble artifacts are on the other side. Young Gil smiled helplessly. Because Angelica used the Archer card of Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh's other card, which was the current young Gil, could be considered as an incomplete version. That's good. I'm preparing to attack the side with your card. Do you want to make up a numbers? Wombing's mouth curved into a smile. Hey, since teacher has personally appeared, do you still need me? Young Gil had a leisurely look on his face as he ate. Well, that's true. Since that's the case, you can stay here and look after the house. Wu-ming smiled. Also don't bully Beauty. Wu-ming smiled and said word by word. Yes, yes, teacher. Young Gil smiled awkwardly. After dinner, Wu-ming asked young Gil to wash the dishes. It had to be said that although the young Gil and the adult Gilgamesh had the same personality, the young Gil was able to control his temper more easily. When Wu-ming said to wash the dishes, he eagerly went to do it. As for Bizet, he was sent out by Wu-ming to buy ingredients. Wu-ming held the omelet rice that he had specially left for Meiyu. Moreover, it was Wu-ming who had specially processed it with his magic to keep it warm. Then, Wu-ming knocked on Meiyu's door. Meiyu, are you awake? Wu-ming asked softly. However, there was no sound coming out from the room. Don't tell me she's still sleeping. Wu-ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then, he opened Meiyu's door. When he opened the door, as expected, Meiyu was lying on her small bed. Because it was summer, Meiyu's body was only covered with a thin layer of blanket. Wu-ming put the omelet rice on the table beside Meiyu's bed, then gently sat on Meiyu's bed. Meiyu is really cute. Wu-ming laid in front of Meiyu and carefully looked at Meiyu's sleeping face. These few years, I feel like I'm raising a daughter. I really miss it. Fortunately, Meiyu's nature was not very active. She was a quiet Meiyu, lowly. Moreover, Meiyu was very sensible. This made Wu-ming feel very relaxed and happy about raising a daughter. As if she sensed that there was someone around her, Meiyu, who was sleeping soundly, moved and slowly opened her eyes. This is Brother Wu-ming. However, Meiyu seemed to be in a daze. She looked at Wu-ming in a daze. It seems that yesterday was really tiring for you. This is the first time I've seen Meiyu in such a daze. Wu-ming said with some heartache. After all, last night, Meiyu was not only worried about Wu-ming's life, but also had to stop a powerful and terrifying enemy. Her body and mind were always tense. It was understandable that she slept like this. Brother Wu-ming, Meiyu said in a daze. What's wrong? Meiyu, Wu-ming said in an exceptionally gentle tone. He could not wake up a person who was in a daze instantly. This would cause some damage to her mental state. It was better to wake her up slowly and gently. Ilya said, everything in the dream is not real. Then, I want to... Brother Wu-ming. Wu-ming looked at Meiyu in confusion. What does Meiyu want to do with me? Wu-ming moved closer to Meiyu's ear and asked again. Wu-ming really did not hear the last sentence that Meiyu said. Kiss, kiss. As she said this, Meiyu reached out and grabbed Wu-ming's neck. She instantly raised her head and kissed Wu-ming. Wu-ming widened his eyes. He really did not expect that Meiyu, who usually looked especially quiet, would be so daring at this moment. Could it be that she was the same as usual, but became extreme in her sleep because of the suppression of her daily life? Also, what did Ilya tell Meiyu? Fortunately, even if Meiyu became extreme, she was still Meiyu. Wu-ming only touched her slightly. After touching Wu-ming's lips lightly, Meiyu let go of Wu-ming. At this moment, Meiyu, who was in a daze from her sleep, was almost awake. Meiyu came back to her senses. She looked at Brother Wu-ming's face that was incomparably real. She recalled what she had done just now. Meiyu was stunned. I prepared some food for you. Hurry up and eat, Wu-ming said gently. Wu-ming did not stop because of Meiyu's shallow kiss just now. Wu-ming adjusted himself and instantly recovered from his shock. It's just a kiss from a sister to a brother. It's no big deal. Wu-ming began to self-hypnotize himself. However, Meiyu was unable to let go of what had just happened. Wu-ming, brother. Meiyu's entire head was as red as a monkey's butt. She stared blankly at Wu-ming and stuttered. Wu-ming looked at Meiyu, who was unable to look at his eyes due to her shyness. He did not know whether to laugh or cry as he smiled. Hurry up and eat. I can feed you today. Wu-ming touched Meiyu's scalding hot little head and said gently. If one did not know the inside story, Meiyu's scalding hot little head might be mistaken as having a fever. Look, I made your favorite omelet rice for you, Wu-ming said as he picked up the bowl of omelet rice on the table beside Meiyu's bed. Meiyu was indeed a genius girl. After seeing that Wu Ming did not panic from the previous kiss, she calmed down a little. Do you need me to feed you? This is a rare opportunity, Wu Ming asked again. Okay. Mayo's little head nodded. Wu Ming held the bowl of omelet rice in one hand and the spoon in the other hand. He gently scooped up a spoonful of omelet rice and sent it to Mayo's mouth. Ah, Wu Ming said. Ah, Mayo opened her little mouth and sucked on the spoon. How is it? Wu Ming asked with a smile. Mayo tasted it carefully. It's delicious as always, brother Wu Ming. Mayo still did not dare to look at Wu Ming. Her cheeks were slightly red as she said. Then let's continue. Okay. Chapter 274. Then, I'll go out first. Also, Mayo's sleeping posture is very cute. Wu Ming finished speaking and left Mayo's room with an empty tray. Mayo lowered her head deeply, her cheeks red. Ruby, when did brother Wu Ming come in? Mayo said shyly. Sapphire flew out from Mayo's hair and spoke while floating. Lord Wu Ming came in for about a few minutes. Because he sat beside you to observe Lord Mayo's sleeping posture, he woke Lord Mayo up. Then, Lord Mayo kissed. Mayo instantly grabbed Sapphire and covered her mouth. It was Sapphire's hexagram. Probably. Lord Mayo. It was obvious that Mayo didn't cover Sapphire's mouth. Sapphire asked curiously. I don't think that Lord Mayo is a pervert who kisses her brother. After all, you aren't blood-related siblings. Theoretically, you can... Don't say any more, Sapphire. Mayo blushed and shook Sapphire continuously. I understand, Lord Mayo. Then, Mayo let go of Sapphire. Mayo thought about everything she did with Wu Ming and the words she said to Wu Ming. She shook her head in confusion. The reason why Mayo said that, since it's a dream, then everything isn't real, was because Mayo had almost been forcefully kissed by Ilya. After that incident, Ilya told Mayo that everything in the dream was fake. Children at this age like to dream, so it shouldn't be taken seriously. Ilya's goal was to let Mayo understand that her actions back then weren't because she liked Wu Ming. However, the extremely smart Mayo naturally knew that Ilya liked her brother. In the end, Mayo misunderstood that Ilya meant that they could do anything in the dream. In the end, the aforementioned morning kiss happened. Woo. After thinking about it carefully, Mayo covered her face in shame and started sobbing. Wu Ming left Mayo's room and went to the kitchen. When Wu Ming came in, young Gil, who was washing the dishes, raised his hand to greet him. Yo, teacher, you're finally out. Young Gil finished washing the last dish and looked at Wu Ming. Wu Ming placed the plate beside young Gil's dish. I'll leave this to you two. You're feeding me personally, aren't you? That's nice. Even teacher hasn't fed me before. Young Gil obediently started washing the dishes again. That's because you're a man. Wu Ming waved his hand. Back then, he had fed the lowly Gil quite a lot. However, as they grew older, the lowly Gil became the cold and domineering big sister Gil. Therefore, Wu Ming's feeding privilege was revoked. Sigh, and you said that you don't like lowly. Teacher, seriously. Wu Ming narrowed his eyes. He could only say that he was indeed the male version of Gilgamesh. He was even more mischievous than the female version. You'd better be prepared. I'll introduce you to my friends later. Remember, don't cause trouble for me and don't talk nonsense. Yes, teacher, young Gil replied with a smile. I hope so. Wu Ming left the Shuoyu residence. Before he left, Wu Ming handed a game to young Gil. This is a modified version of Grand Strategy that I've specially modified with magic power. Clear it before I come back, Wu Ming said. After all, he had to find something for young Gil to do. Otherwise, with his mischievous taste, it was inevitable that he would cause some trouble. Wu Ming arrived at the house of Einstein Barons and parked the car at the door. Wu Ming entered Ilya's house. Wu Ming walked to the door. Just as Wu Ming was about to knock on the door opened by itself. Ah, isn't that Mr. and Mrs. Xiao? Ah, isn't this Mr. Wu Ming? Are you here to look for Ilya and Blackie? They're still sleeping. It's so rare that the two of them are sleeping together. I've been looking at their sleeping faces for a long time. Mr. Wu Ming, you should go and take a look. Alice Phil was just about to go out and bumped into Wu Ming when she opened the door. What a coincidence, madam. Are you going out? Wu Ming said gracefully. Yes. After all, the meteorite last night caused a natural gas pipeline to explode, and Yuanzhong Mountain was blown away. I have to check it out. Looking at the smiling Alice Phil, Wu Ming felt awkward. The news report about the meteorite causing the natural gas pipeline to explode and collapse was naturally made up by Wu Ming and the others to cover up the ordinary people. However, Wu Ming didn't know that the disappearance of Yuanzhong Mountain was actually explained as the meteorite causing the natural gas pipeline to collapse. Last night, Wu Ming handed this matter over to Rin Enbin, Luia, and the others. Then, he left with Ilya and the others. After all, the disappearance of Yuanzhong Mountain would definitely be discovered by the citizens. They had to deal with it as soon as possible. The result was they're really unreliable. Wu Ming complained his heart. About that, I'll take care of it in the near future. Wu Ming touched his head awkwardly. Allah, that's great. Then, I'll take my leave first, Mr. Wu Ming. After saying that, Alice Phil left the Arinsbella mansion. Hadash. Wu Ming let out a long sigh of relief and then walked into the house. After greeting Sela, Wu Ming went directly to Ilya's room. According to Sela, Ilya and Little Black slept together last night, so Wu Ming only needed to go directly to Ilya's room. Ilya, Little Black, are you awake? Wu Ming knocked on the door and asked. After waiting for a few seconds, Wu Ming determined that the two were still asleep. I'm coming in. With that, Wu Ming pushed open the door to Ilya's room. What entered Wu Ming's eyes was Little Black and Ilya's intertwined sleeping posture. Seriously, both of them. Why are their sleeping posture so improper? Wu Ming shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Wu Ming walked to the side of the bed, bent down, and shook Ilya and Little Black. Ilya, Little Black, it's time to wake up. I have something to tell you. Wake up. Following Wu Ming's shaking in voice, Ilya and Little Black opened their eyes in a daze. Hey, it's Big Brother. Good morning, kiss. Ilya smiled in a daze and reached out to hug Wu Ming. Again, Wu Ming, who had experienced it before, naturally did not fall for it this time. However, this was not the main point, but Ilya hugged Little Black and kissed Little Black's lips. Big Brother, Ilya said as she kissed. Wu Ming silently cast a soundproof barrier, just in case at this moment, Ilya just woke up. Ilya was silent and looked at Little Black in a daze. Then, she looked at Wu Ming, who was standing at the side. Wu Ming was also silent and did not say a word as he looked at the ceiling. Ah! Ilya's screams caused Wu Ming to helplessly cover his ears. As expected, I'm the genius who set up the soundproof barrier. Chapter 275. All right then, I'll leave with Ilya and Little Black first. Wu Ming held Ilya and Little Black's hands and stood at the door to bid farewell to Sela. However, Little Black seemed to be holding back her laughter, while Ilya lowered her head with a blushing face. Yes, take care, Sela smiled and waved goodbye. After walking out of the door, Little Black began to laugh. Ilya is so cute. Little Black looked at Ilya playfully. Woo woo woo. Ilya felt even more ashamed. Even though Ilya's scream didn't reach Sela's ears, it woke up Little Black, who was still sleeping. Looking at Ilya's flushed and bewildered expression, looking at the astonished Wu Ming, feeling the moisture on her lips, and combining it with Ilya's scream, Little Black instantly understood everything. Come to think of it, I'm the victim. Why are you so shy when I haven't even said anything? Little Black looked at Ilya helplessly and held her forehead. But, Ilya lowered her head even more. Isn't it because you wanted to have a morning kiss with Big Brother and ended up kissing me instead? Or is Ilya regretting that she didn't kiss Big Brother at that moment? Little Black became mischievous again. You're talking nonsense. I didn't. However, Ilya's blushing and stuttering rebuttal didn't seem to be valid. All right, that's enough. Little Black, let Ilya off. With soundless pleading on Ilya's behalf, Blacking naturally nodded. By the way, why did Big Brother look for us today? Little Black asked the key question. At the same time, Ilya also looked at Wu Ming. Of course, it's about the 9th class card. After Wu Ming said that, the two of them became particularly serious. After all, the servant transformed from the ninth class card was rather terrifying. Show all you residents. A dark spatial door appeared out of thin air. Wooming walked out with Little Black and Ilya. We're here. Wooming let go of the hand that was held by Wooming out of fear. It had to be said that this teleportation gate spell was indeed a little scary, but it couldn't be helped. After all, it was a spell designed for darkness-type monsters. Ilya? Little Black? Mayo's voice came from his side. Mayu was sitting on the sofa in the living room, doing her summer homework. Mayu! Ilya shouted excitedly, and then ran to Mayo's side. Little Hay also walked over. After seeing Mayu doing her summer homework, Little Hay didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I really don't know if I should say that Mayu is a natural or a careless person. She just went through such a horrible experience, but the next day, she started doing her summer homework as if nothing had happened. Wooming smiled helplessly. Mayo's personality was like that. Basically, she wouldn't be emotionally unstable because of anything. And the only time she had emotional lines was when Wooming's life was uncertain. But at that time, Mayu still insisted on doing what she was going to do next and didn't lose her fighting spirit completely because of emotional lines. Gotta say, Mayu had an extremely calm mentality that even adults didn't have. But no matter what, Mayu was only a primary school student. After Wooming appeared from the mirror world, Mayu choked up and couldn't speak. This was clearly proven, because if I don't do a little every day, I will have to work hard to make up for it in the future, Mayu answered in a serious manner. As expected of Mayu. That's Mayo's style of answering. Ilya and Little Black smiled awkwardly. It's about time, Wooming suddenly said. ? Ilya and the others looked at Wooming in confusion. Master, I brought Rin and Osaka and Luvia, Serena Edelfelt here. At that moment, Bazette's voice sounded from outside the door. Shortly after, Bazette pushed the door open and entered, followed by Luvia's black twin ponytails and blonde wavy hair. When Wooming got Bazette to buy ingredients, he also got him to bring Rin and Osaka and Luvia over. In the end, the natural Bazette tied up Rin and Osaka and Luvia and brought them over. Everyone arrived at a small conference room and sat on 2 rows of sofas in the conference room. Seriously, we would have come back if you just let us know. Is there a need to do this? Rin and Osaka stroked her twin ponytails in displeasure. That's right. You're really not ladylike at all, and you don't respect ladylike women at all. You actually tied me up with Rin and Osaka. Luvia stroked her blonde wavy hair. What do you mean by that? Do you think I still like being tied up with you? Rin and Osaka glared at Luvia fiercely. Oh, what a pitiful attitude, Rin and Osaka. Luvia mocked back. Ahem, Wooming, who was sitting at the head of the table, coughed twice and then glared at Bazette. Bazette's body immediately tensed up like a mouse that saw a cat. She knew that she did something wrong again. Probably. Wooming, who was sitting at the head of the table, stopped glaring at Bazette and began to speak. First, let's talk about the 9th grade card. Everyone had a serious look on their faces. After all, the blackened servant yesterday was an existence that fooled Wooming, and in the end, Wooming had to use Sun to eliminate the blackened servant. The blackened servant yesterday is my disciple, Hero King Gilgamesh. Brother Wooming's disciple? Ilya, Xiaohei, and Mayu were surprised. Sure enough, Rin and Osaka and Luvia said secretly. Yesterday, the blackened Gilgamesh used countless noble phantoms to bombard Rin and Osaka and the others. Not only did he have a noble phantasm that could cut through space, but he also had an airship that could fly and release ancient nuclear bombs. After Rin and Osaka and Luvia's investigation, they almost locked onto the ancient king, Hero King Gilgamesh. The airship yesterday was Vamona, am I right? Bazette said. Wooming nodded. But that? Hero King was defeated by Big Brother, right? Ilya meant that there was no need to talk about the defeated enemy. No, actually, when I defeated him, I also destroyed the Great Holy Grail technique in Yuzong Mountain. As a result, the two of them had some connection. With that said, Wooming snapped his fingers, and a golden ripple appeared beside him. Clatter! Young Gilgamesh fell to the ground with the sound of chains. Hello, everyone. I'm Master's favorite disciple, Gilgamesh. Nice to meet you. Yeah. Chapter 276. Young Gil's body was wrapped in chains, but even so, he still greeted everyone. This child is Big Brother's disciple, the oldest king, Ilya said in disbelief. It's the real deal. I'm the oldest king, the hero king, Gilgamesh. Looking at young Gil's sweet smile, Ilya was dumbfounded. But why is the legendary oldest king a child? Blackie voiced out the doubts in Ilya's heart. This is probably how the hero king, Gilgamesh, looked like when he was young. As expected of a first-rate magician from the clock tower, Rin Inbin instantly thought of this possibility. Rin is right. Because most of Gil's power is in another card, the current hero king, Gilgamesh, is also a weakened version of a child, Wuming explained. Wait, another card? Livia repeated what she heard from Wuming. Yes, that's right. This is also the topic of this meeting that I called everyone here. Then, Wuming told everyone that he and Mayu came from another world, which was the parallel world. Because of the House of Einstein barons of the other world, Ainsworth's persecution of Mayu, Wuming fought with him and was tricked in the end. Shiro Amiya of the other world used the Holy Grail to make a wish and sent Mayu to this world. He also came to this world because he was pulled by the Holy Grail when he disappeared. He told everyone a series of things. Big Brother from the other world, Ilya said slowly. The House of Einstein barons of the parallel world, Ainsworth, Blackie said with a serious expression. The Holy Grail War of the cards? I see, Bizette said thoughtfully. No wonder you know so much about the class cards. Rin Inbin looked at Wuming and Mayu with a look of relief. So why are you telling us all this? Livia asked. Isn't this what you've always wanted to know? Wuming smiled. I'm sorry, Ilya Little Black. Mayu looked at Ilya and Little Black apologetically. How could that be, Mayu? After all, everyone has things that they don't want to talk about. It's not your fault. Ilya held Mayu's hand and smiled at Mayu. It wasn't easy for Ilya to say something reliable, but she's right. Mayu, if you want to blame someone, blame Big Brother. It's Big Brother's fault for hiding it from us, Little Black said mischievously. No, you can't blame Brother Wuming. I'm also responsible for everything here. Mayu shook her head in a slight panic. This made Wuming laugh. You guys, I'll buy ice cream for you guys later as an apology. How about that? Really? I want strawberry-flavored ice cream, and it's a double-layer ice cream. Ilya looked excited. Seriously, a mere Ilya was bought over by ice cream. Little Black looked at Ilya with disdain. Ilya didn't refute. She scratched her head awkwardly. If it's me, I want 4 layers of double-flavored ice cream, Little Black said proudly. Little Black, you're still talking about me. Aren't you also bought over? Ilya's little face puffed up like a little bun as she stared at Little Black. I think, Wuming, you must have other things, Livia said after thinking for a while. Wuming smiled slightly. You're right. I'm preparing to attack Ainsworth, and I want you guys to help me take care of Mayu. What? When Wuming said this, everyone shouted in surprise. Among them, Mayu had the most intense reaction. Why? I want to go back with Brother Wuming, Mayu said with a slightly anxious tone. That's not a good choice, Wuming. Rin Inbin crossed his legs. You set yourself, because you were defeated by Ainsworth with the help of the parallel worlds. Amiya, Kuin, Mayu was sent to this world. If you go back, wouldn't you be walking right into a trap? Ilya and Little Black nodded frantically. Unfortunately, even if I don't go back, Ainsworth has the ability to find this place. Since that's the case, I might as well act first and gain the upper hand, Wuming explained. Then, Livia arrogantly pointed at herself. If that's the case, you'll need someone else's help. Coincidentally, Livia Serena Eiderfeld, happen to be a good ally. I'm quite free these days. Also, don't forget, you promised to help me analyze class cards. If you don't know how to do it, who's going to help me analyze class cards? Rin Inbin followed Livia's words and said. When Livia heard this, her expression changed. Damn you, Rin Inbin, you actually secretly asked Wuming to help analyze class card behind my back. Livia stared at Rin Inbin And Rin Inbin didn't back down and stared back at Livia. I'm hiding it from you. What can you do about it? Their eyes were filled with the flames of battle. Since they can find us, I think it's better to act first and gain the upper hand according to Big Brother's words. Although I'm not that strong, I'll still help with Mayu and Big Brother's matter. Ilya clenched her fists and encouraged herself. My heart is the Archer class card. Since I'm already involved in this matter, of course I have to help Big Brother solve this matter. Little Black then jumped into Wuming's arms and hugged Wuming's neck affectionately. Moreover, the magic power essence that Big Brother gave me is now flowing well in my body. I have to repay you well. You, what are you doing? Little Black, get down from me. Ilya's face instantly turned red, and she quickly ran over to pull Little Black away from Wuming's arms. This matter has nothing to do with me, but the other party has all the secrets of the class cards. As the designated executor of the seal, I have to take it back. Bazit had a serious expression. However, Wuming looked at Bazit with a teasing expression. Cough, after all, I still owe you a debt, master. Bazit's face turned red. It had to be said that although Bazet was a bit silly as a magician, he still had a bit of humanity. Of course, it was only a bit. Everyone, Mayu looked at everyone in the room with tears in her eyes. As if in tacit agreement, Rin Inosaka and Livia, who were glaring at each other, Ilya and Blackie, who were tugging at each other, and Bazit, who had been sitting there without moving, all looked at Wuming in unison. Wuming closed his eyes and said helplessly, It's really troublesome. I understand, then I'll leave it to everyone. Oh, it's good to be united. Don't you think so, little Blue? Ruby floated on the side and said while watching the scene. Sister finally said something reliable. I'll reluctantly accept you today. Sapphire said calmly. Little Blue, why are you like this? I'm so sad. Please don't do this again, sister. Finally, young Gil, who had been tied up by Enkidu, looked at Wuming with a smile. Sensei, it seems that you're becoming more and more human, that you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.